Orochimaru, please answer what is called a genetic factor. Haruki is in class. There is no projector, microphone, and spacious air-conditioned classroom. It was replaced by a rudimentary laboratory. The transparent cylinder filled with green liquid, all kinds of weird limbs, do not know whether it is human or animal. An unusual smell faintly filled the room, but neither he nor Orochimaru cared. His only student. Orochimaru sitting in front of the blackboard. One of Konoha's Sannin. He has long black hair, golden snake eyes, pale skin, and wears jade earrings. Change to a past life, a properly bad boy. But in Hokage ninja, it's normal. Genetic factors, genes, the nature and traits of organisms. Orochimaru licked his lips and replied. Not bad, I remember very firmly. Haruki nodded approvingly. The second point of knowledge, what are dominant traits and recessive traits? He took the pointer and slapped it on the small blackboard full of words. This small blackboard he borrowed from the ninja school has endured too much. Orochimaru has a strong thirst for knowledge, it is difficult to be filled. Hard and studious. The sunny tree is about to be hollowed out. If he knew he would cross, he would definitely work harder. When the same organism is crossed, the traits shown in the offspring are dominant, and the traits not shown are recessive. Orochimaru replied hoarsely. Please give an example. The Sharingan of the Uchiha clan has the possibility of eye-opening in theory, but under normal circumstances it is recessive. Only when they are stimulated by special emotions can their traits become dominant. Well, there seems to be something wrong. Haruki scratched his head, a bright smile appeared on his face. The white teeth seemed to flash, and even the gloomy breath of the laboratory was mostly dispersed. Like a spring breeze. But Orochimaru turned a blind eye and asked calmly, what's wrong? Haruki became a lazy waste. Sleepy, today's class is over. This question will be used as your homework and will be handed in next class. Orochimaru glanced at him. It's the same excuse every time. He said in a cold tone. Since it's gone, leave quickly and don't hinder me. Ruthless. As expected of you, Orochimaru. When Haruki saw him preparing to run away, he said, wait, I have a very interesting homework for you. Orochimaru stopped suddenly. Say. Crack and reform caged bird. Not interested. Orochimaru refused without hesitation. Haruki was not surprised. He squinted his eyes and said calmly, if you don't do homework, you can't go to class. Orochimaru's face became more gloomy. But what Haruki said was unheard of, and it was a great inspiration for his research. He hesitated and said, to study caged bird, I need a ninja from Hyuga branch house. Clear. Haruki immediately sealed the seal, and summoning pulled out the storage scroll, trembling, and rolled down a young man wearing Konoha Chunin costume. His forehead is engraved with a cyan crossmark and 2 hook patterns. Are you already prepared? Coincide. Seeing the bad expression on his face, Haruki explained, Makoto Hyuga was sent to me for treatment because he was injured on the battlefield. Orochimaru glanced at Makoto Hyuga subconsciously. It really is alive. The ninja of Hyuga branch house will plant curse mark. Caged bird at the age of 3. Once captured, caged bird triggers in the branch house immediately dies. Fundamentally put an end to the possibility of Byakugan's outflow. But Haruki's unique identity as a medical ninja helped him. At present, our battle with Tsunade is basically coming to an end. You don't have much time left. If you delay too long, the Hyuga clan will have doubts. Why unlock caged bird? Orochimaru doesn't like to waste energy on unimportant things. It has something to do with my future plan. It's a transaction between us. After all, I confiscate your tuition when I go to class. What's the plan? Become Hokage's man. Silly sneer. Orochimaru resisted the desire to complain and asked, where do you really like Tsunade? This question. Haruki banged his forehead with a nerve. It's really hard to answer. Maybe this is love. There was a smile without any falsehood at the corners of his mouth. One day 3 years ago, Haruki woke up and opened his eyes and saw an unfamiliar ceiling. After some investigation, he finally determined that he was crossing the identity as a civilian in the country of fire. But he did not have time to develop cautiously, and the war swept through. Both parents died. Unarmed, he met Tsunade before he died. At the same time, his plugin was activated, favorable love system. To be more accurate, it is the plugin he bought on the forum when he was playing a certain 3D girl development game. The role is very simple. Bind a female character to increase mutual favorability and give certain rewards based on interactive events. Haruki chose Tsunade. It doesn't matter what the chest is, the main reason is that he likes this woman. He thus won the first reward, Tsunade's medical ninjutsu. Haruki gradually showed her talent, and she was finally attracted by her. Then the Second Ninja World War broke out completely. The Land of Rain became the main battlefield. The same result is the original. Konoha wins. But the only difference is that Haruki and Tsunade became famous together as medical ninjas. Known as Konoha Shwangbi, the medical ninja was not taken seriously at the beginning. Tsunade has repeatedly proposed to incorporate medical ninjas into the Konoha trio team and establish a corresponding training mechanism. In the early stage, it was only supported by Sunny Trees. Because of the like-mindedness and the existence of the favorability system, Tsunade became his girlfriend. There is no such thing as panasemia, and even Kato Dan doesn't know him. Due to the impact of the war, Haruki has no favor in the Hokage world. Reality is not a passionate animation after all. There is coldness everywhere. If he can, he just wants to fly away with Tsunade and live a simple life with salted fish. But he, who is familiar with the plot, understands that this wish is too extravagant. And Tsunade will not abandon Konoha. Haruki's first plan was to help Tsunade become Hokage early. But thinking about it, since you want to pursue stimulation, follow through to the end. Unify the ninja world. Completely break this seemingly superpower is actually Neon Sengoku era. Anything that hinders him is his enemy. Leaving the laboratory, Haruki walked on the streets of Konoha. Old brick houses, ninjas in green vests, and simple telephone poles of the last century. Let him, a civil servant who lives in an infrastructure mad demon planter, is very unaccustomed. Master Haruki. He raised his head and saw a man and a woman who said hello. He was slightly pensive, and smiled. It's Noma Kaido and Nakabayashi Neko, it's been a long time. My lord actually remembers us. When the two heard their names, their eyes were full of surprises. Haruki glanced over the two of them, and said warmly, I still remember your excellent performance in the Land of Rain. The two felt incredible. A year and a half ago, Hanzo, the leader of Rain Shinobi Village, fought against Jiraiya, Tsunade, and Orochimaru Sanin, and his summoning beast Sancho Fish poisoned a large number of ninjas. It was Haruki who saved them. There is a huge gap between their identities and Haruki, and they have only met once, and they actually know something about them. After leaving, Kingman could still hear the discussion between the two. Haruki-sama, really gentle. Yes, both handsome and powerful, and treat us civilian ninjas equally. Haruki smiled slightly, this is marketing. More precisely, it is traffic-making stars. After being bombarded by the media in his previous life, he knew this well. Person setting is very important. Especially in the era when third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen was in power. He set up 3 key words with reference to the later Golden Glitter Namikaze Minato. Sunshine, gentle, superb medical skills. A ninja who inherited the will of fire perfectly, and a medical ninja with no harm. It is simply Sarutobi Hiruzen's favorite talent. Of course it's not just him. To avoid being suspected, Haruki also created momentum for Jiraiya, Tsunade, Orochimaru, Hitaki Sakumo and others. The importance of public opinion is self-evident. According to his current reputation, as long as he does not make a mistake, the leader of Konoha Root, the biggest black hand, Shimura Danzo will not target him. The lesson from the past is Hitaki Shumao, Konoha's White Fang. In a few years, he committed suicide because the mission failed to bear the blame. Don't be too much in this one. With the strength of Hitaki Sakumo, the missions performed must be confidential. How can it be known to everyone? I have to say that the operations of Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo are too stinky. So his small goal is to climb over these 2 mountains first. Haruki finished the memory, adjusted his clothes, and knocked on the door. Tsunade, I'm back. Haruki opened the door and didn't see Tsunade. He changed his slippers and remembered that she was busy with the teaching materials of the medical class in recent days. As the war is about to end, Tsunade and Haruki shine as medical ninjas, and Sarutobi Hiruzen and Konoha's advisory team finally agreed to open a medical class at the ninja school. But there is no basic medical textbook. As the first medical ninja, Tsunade can only write it himself. Haruki walked to the study. Tsunade held the pen and straightened his upper body slightly, with a serious and beautiful face like a girl. Covered by the sun, the light yellow hair shone with shreds of light. He leaned against the door, his eyes were gentle, watching quietly. Tsunade was wearing a loose sleeveless shirt as always, with his white arms exposed in the air, and he was bulged up in front of him, like a balloon that was about to burst, shaky. The bumpy body is undoubtedly revealed. After a long time, Haruki knocked on the door. Hey, is it too much to expose my boyfriend for so long? Tsunade raised his head, beautiful brown eyes, as if they were amber, but at the moment he felt helpless. If you were okay, help me write the textbook. Haruki smiled, walked behind her, reached out and hugged her. At this moment he removed all disguise. The medical class is about to enroll students, and I still have to work. Tsunade raised his right hand and flicked his forehead with his index finger. There is no strength. It seems to be encouraging. So Haruki made an inch and squeezed in and sat in an office chair. The two clung to each other tightly. Tsunade felt uncomfortable and glared at him, stood up, and simply sat on his lap. After writing for so long, are your hands sore? Do you want me to rub it for you? Hey, you underestimated my physique too? Tsunade clenched his fists. Haruki suddenly remembered her strange power, and was speechless for a while. Daughter. Had it not been for the system to remind him that his friendship with Tsunade was full, he would not dare to confess to Tsunade. But after all, she was not the future Tsunade who experienced death one after another and used a good bet to escape. Tsunade is now even more girlish. Of course, the white abyss in front of him is not so magnificent. Haruki lowered her head slightly, and she could see her unguarded neckline. You lean closer. What are you doing? Although Tsunade was puzzled, he was physically honest. Slightly twisted his slender legs, adjusted the angle, put his arms around him, his plump body filled his arms. Listening to his clear breathing, his face was blushing inexplicably. Want to be Hokage? Haruki's head tilted slightly against her forehead, enjoying a quiet moment without any distractions. Hokage? Why do you want to ask this? Tsunade asked a little surprised. You tell me first. Haruki smiled while squeezing her little hand. In the original book, Tsunade has a dislike for Hokage for various reasons. Even as 5th Hokage, it is almost forced by the situation. But the current Tsunade probably hasn't reached this point yet. Although her grandfather, Senju Hashirama, is unconcerned, he is the god of the ninja world anyway. Tsunade will definitely be affected by him. Naturally, I have thought about it, but my more certain dream is to travel to every corner of the world and leave the mark of victory in every casino. Tsunade closed his eyes and enjoyed his massage. Haruki couldn't help but smile. This dream is full of Tsunade characteristics. But it is a pity that Tsunade will not be realized for a long time in the future. In the future, only you and me, two of us, will travel around the world. Haruki silently squeezed her left hand. Of course. Tsunade chuckled, his body pressed closer subconsciously. Haruki looked at her smile, and his original plan was a little shaken. But it is not so easy to travel the world in a true sense. Sniffing the fragrance of her long light yellow hair, he asked, if I want you to be a Hokage, would you like it? Under normal circumstances, shouldn't you say that you want to be Hokage? Tsunade straightened his upper body slightly and looked up at him. My wish is to be Hokage's man. Your wish is too strange. Tsunade was stunned for a moment before reacting, a little bit dumbfounded, and the teacher is in his prime of life, it's too early for you to say this now. Wish. Say it earlier, I can think of a way for you. Haruki gently rubbed her cheek and said seriously. Tsunade looked at his expression, serious and affectionate, undisguised love, making her heart beat faster. It seems that being a Hokage for him is not a bad thing. After 3 years of contact, Tsunade knew that Haruki was planning something. Perhaps the girl who is in love has no brains, she never suspects that he is bad for herself. So she took a bite of Haruki's cheek, blinked her eyes, and said, do you think it is too troublesome to abandon Hokage? You found it. Haruki pretended to be shocked. But the acting was so bad that Tsunade could tell it at a glance. Okay. I don't know what your bad taste is. If it's Hokage, it's not bad, as it is for Nawaki to fulfill my wish. Haruki immediately hugged her tighter when he heard the words. Nawaki, Tsunade's younger brother, died in the Second Ninja War. At that time, he had just crossed, and the people were quiet, not to mention that Nawaki himself wanted to be Hokage, it was impossible to trap him in the back. Tsunade felt his heart and understood it without saying. She stretched out her hand and stroked Haruki's face lightly. I lost Nawaki, but I got you. Finally, my luck is not too bad. The atmosphere is a bit solemn. Haruki smiled suddenly. Have you ever heard a word? What? You conquer the world, I conquer you. Okay. Tsunade suddenly raised his brows, clenched his left hand directly, and said in a demonstration, I think you have not accepted my love fist recently and become so arrogant. Haruki subconsciously blocked her fist. There was a boom. The office chair could not withstand the impact and cracked. Wow, it's true, you were going to murder your husband. Haruki hugged her and landed on the ground, causing a pain in her back. Tsunade sat on him like a queen and put up his legs. Why? Dare you still say anything about conquering? At this time, a ninja wearing an animal mask appears. She looked at the scene in front of her, and she was stunned. Ah, sorry. 2 adults, I didn't mean it. After speaking, a body flicker technique disappeared directly. It seems to be Anbu's Sunny. Even though it was an exclaimed glance, Haruki clearly saw that her mask was a pattern of frogs. Tsunade abruptly got up and covered his face, red to the base of his ears. "It's over." Was seen. Haruki stretched out her hand and rubbed her long hair, and said with a smile, "Master Hokage must have something to do with us." Tsunade glared at him with dissatisfaction, took a deep breath, and resumed his usual abilities. "Come in." Sunny appeared again. But this time she was walking through the door, not the window. "Master Tsunade, Master Haruki." Haru bowed slightly and said, "Master Hokage wants you to go to the Hokage Pavilion to discuss matters." Haruki smiled again, and he said, "Thank you, Haru. No trouble, I should do it." Ching was called Po-code, and the expression behind the mask was a little surprised. It's too late for normal ninjas to see them hiding, let alone remember their code names. It should be a post-war discussion. After Haru left, Tsunade said, "Although the war is over, there are still a lot of things after the war. It seems that we can't rest in a short time." Haruki hates meetings the most. Some meetings are like speeches at the opening ceremony, long and useless. But this meeting is what he has been looking forward to for a long time. In the Ninja World War, he got enough credit. Besides, unlike the original, Orochimaru has not defected, and Tsunade is also in Konoha. In the battle, he has gained enough favorability among the major families. Without threatening their interests, his request should not be rejected. Haruki took Tsunade up and said, "Let's go." The 3 round buildings next to each other are red as a hole. The dome is erected with 5 inwardly curved bluestone beams, and further down is a plaque. The black fire character can be seen from a distance. The head of Konoha village, the building where Hokage is located. Orochimaru. Tsunade held Haruki in his left hand and greeted Orochimaru with his right hand. Orochimaru nodded blankly as a response. "So early, it doesn't seem to be your character." Haruki sat between the two, asking casually, his eyes quickly scanning the crowd in the hall. "Most of the jonin in the village are here, so it seems a bit noisy and crowded." "Hehe. Give the teacher a bit of face." Orochimaru's tone was as indifferent as ever, and a pair of snake pupils shone cold. Haruki sighed. Nawaki's death affected not only Tsunade, but Orochimaru as well. The current Orochimaru is gradually not thinking about Konoha, but instead is pursuing the eternity of life. Otherwise, he and Namikaze Minato may not be 4th Hokage. But Orochimaru is not insane and ruthless in the original book in this life. The big reason is Haruki's guidance. Waited for a while. 3rd Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen arrives. He was wearing a royal robe, holding a pipe in his mouth, and the beard on his chin was still black. At this time, he was in his prime of life, his spirit was still at his peak, and his words and deeds revealed the majesty of Hokage. "Master Hokage." The hall suddenly became quiet, and then each other's ups and downs sounded. Sarutobi Hiruzen laughed, proper and approachable. After a few greetings, the meeting officially began. The first thing to discuss is about the pension and inheritance of the dead ninja. According to the past practice, all of them are left to their family or friends, especially children who are orphans, to be responsible for supporting them until the ninja school graduates. When Haruki heard this, he couldn't help but glance at Sarutobi Hiruzen. "You bad old man, you are very bad. Uzumaki Naruto is reduced to eating instant noodles and drinking expired milk. Is it because his parents are poor? That's a big joke. For the task done by 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato, Uzumaki Naruto would not be so miserable. Had it not been for the protagonist's halo, Blacken would have long been." Some Hokage fans in previous lives even thought that Uzumaki Naruto was hit by distinguished heavenly gods. The so-called rules, in such heroes as Sarutobi Hiruzen, are nothing more than a means to an end. 2 things were discussed later, one is the unfinished local war, and the other is Konoha's post-war reconstruction and development. Haruki did not participate. Most of the time, Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen said that Shimura Danzo, the root leader, occasionally raised objections, while Hokage consultants Mitokado Homura and Udatane Kaharu acted as intermediaries and mud. To be honest, it seems to him very ordinary. It's nothing more than the old one. "Everyone, if you have other suggestions, you can put them forward." Time passed, and 2 hours later, Sarutobi Hiruzen asked casually. Things are basically set up, and he is about to adjourn the meeting. "Master Hokage, I have a suggestion." Haruki stood up, with a friendly, harmless smile on her face. "It's Haruki, you say." Sarutobi Hiruzen also smiled. He admired Haruki very much. He was originally an orphan, but his mentality and behavior were extremely bright. He worked hard in the war without fear of danger. He appeared on the front line with the highest mortality rate and saved many ninjas. He is both Tsunade's boyfriend and respects him. It is the perfect successor of the Will of Fire. Haruki used chakra to control the scrolls and fell in front of each Jonin representative. It's about the changes to the ninja school. The specific content is all in the scroll. Please take a look. Unexpectedly, you kid came here prepared. Sarutobi Hiruzen opened the scroll with great interest, and the first sentence of the opening made him a little calm. A strong young man makes the village strong. A young man wise makes the village wise, and a rich young man makes the village rich. He read it several times and found it meaningful. The next content is Konoha's compulsory education. The ninja school is divided into elementary school and middle school. The elementary school remains unchanged for the original 6 years and teaches basic knowledge. And 3 years in middle school, according to chakra attributes, learning advanced ninjutsu. In other words, it takes about 13 to graduate normally. Taking into account the actual situation, Haruki did not directly increase to 18 years old. In addition, a research institute was established in the school to study new types of ninjutsu and ninjas. In fact, Konoha has been doing this. When the incombustibles were spread by bloggers, things like scientific endurance were developed. Finally, there is a poor picture and 2 theoretical courses, history and politics. Of course, I can't be so blunt. It should be Konoha Hokage character book and The Great Inheritance of the Will of Fire. Ninja school does not have these 2 courses and does not pay much attention to theory. Take the Chunin exam in the original book. It is true that the 8 immortals crossed the sea and showed their magical powers. Except for a few people, no one wrote the exam papers normally. Konoha himself seems to advocate cheating. Haruki's purpose is naturally to modify the so-called Will of Fire. When he watched Hokage ninjas, he was once caught by the phrase, where the leaves are flying, the fire is endless. The fire will illuminate the village and let the newborn trees sprout. Surprise. But the various actions of Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo indicate that it is not the village that is illuminated, but them. In terms of the education of flower growers, this so-called Will of Fire is fake. There is no specific idea or plan. The most typical in the original work is Uchiha Itachi. What they did was like being brainwashed by mistaken MLM. What Haruki is going to do is to use these 2 courses to spread ideas to the younger generation. It may not be effective for a short time, but 10 or 20 years later, Sarutobi Hiruzen will understand what kind of monster is released today. This is the dragon slaying technique that everyone in the flower planters knows. Of course, this is only the first step. Judging from Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression, the effect seems to be good. His eyes on Haruki were full of relief. What a nice boy. Not only inherited the Will of Fire, but also remembered his usual teachings, and now I want to write a book for his words. I disagree. A gloomy voice suddenly sounded in the quiet hall. Haruki looked at Shimura Danzo, not surprisingly. He has always sneered at the Will of Fire, and the only thing he thought about was to get on the position of Hokage by any means. If you follow Haruki's approach, Hokage's reputation will be even higher. Sarutobi Hiruzen narrowed his eyes, but without speaking, he wanted to see how Haruki would deal with Shimura Danzo's difficulties. Just after the war, we lost a lot of the backbone. If you follow your approach, if they don't graduate, they won't be able to supplement genin in a short time, and we don't have enough chunin and jonin to serve as school teachers. Shimura Danzo's words between the lines reveal the meaning of treating genin as cannon fodder. But Haruki predicted his problem. Master Danzo is right, but I have 2 small suggestions. One is to encourage childbirth. If you cannot afford it, you can apply to be supported by Konoha. The other is to recruit wandering ninjas. The war has caused many ninjas to be displaced, including many of them have good strength. Absurd. Shimura Danzo slammed the table. The first suggestion is understandable, but the wandering ninja, how can you be sure that it is not the undercover agent in the enemy village? Haruki smiled, and said, this depends on the roots of Lord Danzo. With the ability of the roots, you can dig out the details of the wandering ninja. Whether it's an undercover or not, you can tell at a glance. He transferred the leadership to Shimura Danzo. This is a visible benefit. He has a lot of ugly things that can be washed by wandering ninjas. Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart jumped. He knows Shimura Danzo very well, knowing that he has been moved. He promptly added, this matter should be the responsibility of Anbu and Root. Shimura Danzo frowned, but said nothing. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Haruki and felt more relieved. Being silent gave him a big surprise. Since you proposed it, you will serve as the vice principal of the ninja school in the future. Hokage has always been the principal of the ninja school. Haruki's acquisition of the position of vice principal is not only a reward for Sarutobi Hiruzen, but also his trust in him. But he will not simply think that Sarutobi Hiruzen is not on guard. In a sense, he is more dangerous than Konoha's White Fang. Sarutobi Hiruzen might not know how to do it because of Hokage's consideration, but Shimura Danzo is different. In fact, the two of them have a good understanding. I must be on Shimura Danzo's blacklist. If given the opportunity, he would definitely be willing to kill himself. But Haruki is not Konoha's White Fang. Not to mention that he will not commit suicide. If Shimura Danzo wants to play a public opinion war, he will be played suspiciously. Don't waste time on boring things. After leaving the Hokage building, Orochimaru suddenly spoke. Orochimaru-kun, are you worried about me? When Haruki heard these words, he turned to look at him with a smile on his face. I just don't want to delay my research. Orochimaru snorted coldly, not wanting to be entangled in it, and stopped. Tomorrow night, I am at home, and you come by yourself. Wait. Haruki noticed chakra's fluctuations and stopped him. There is something. Do you remember the research institute I mentioned at the meeting? Remember. Orochimaru dismissed body flicker technique. I hope you will serve as the dean of the academy. Haruki stated his purpose. If anyone in the ninja world is the most suitable, Orochimaru. If you are a flower grower, you can comment on outstanding young people, scholars and the like without saying anything. Orochimaru's eyes were cold, and he opened his mouth to refuse. The most dangerous place is the safest. Haruki predicted his answer and said with a smile. Don't you think that we do this and third generation knows nothing about it? In that case, we might as well set up multiple projects in the research institute, which can hide our true purpose. Orochimaru's face changed slightly, he glanced at Haruki, and disappeared without saying anything. It should be agreed. Haruki couldn't help shaking his head, this Orochimaru was really not frank. Suntree. What's wrong? Haruki looked back and saw Tsunade's face close at hand, her expression seemed a little bit ridiculous. What are you doing mysteriously with the god Orochimaru? Tsunade asked. You won't be jealous anymore, Haruki said with a look of the new world. I will eat Orochimaru's vinegar. How could it be possible? Tsunade retorted subconsciously, not being jealous, just a little curious. But she couldn't tell the next moment. The lips were blocked and then bitten again. Ahem. Tsunade heard the coughing, his eyes widened suddenly, and he reflexively hid behind Haruki. When I saw that the person who was coughing was Sarutobi Hiruzen, my face flushed suddenly, and I didn't dare to look up. Sarutobi Hiruzen is very knowledgeable and doesn't think there is anything. There is a feeling. Unexpectedly, Tsunade also has a girlish side. Really grown up. Master Hokage. Haruki smiled nonchalantly and said hello, is there anything you want to tell us? There is something about the ninja school. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded and said in a deep voice, it's not bad to change to 9-year graduation. But now the war is not over. Konoha needs ninjas, so I hope to implement it in 2 years. Just as Master Hokage said. Furthermore, do you have textbooks for the 2 additional theoretical courses? Yes, but it's not finished yet. Haruki had expected it a long time ago, so he took the initiative to bring it up without waiting for him to talk about it. After the compilation is completed, it will be submitted to Master Hokage for review. If there is anything wrong, please correct it. When Sarutobi Hiruzen heard this, the smile on his face became more kind. If he is really a good boy, it seems that he had misunderstood before. Since you say that, I will treat it as a review. Then trouble Master Hokage, but I won't pay wages. Haruki appropriately made a joke. Sarutobi Hiruzen burst into laughter suddenly, extremely happy. He patted Haruki on the shoulder, as a gift for your marriage to Tsunade. Haruki was stunned. Seeing him disappear, he couldn't help but vomit. This Master Hokage can be stingy. What are you talking about? When Tsunade heard these words, he was a little angry and flicked his forehead with his middle finger. That's my teacher, do you know how to respect? Haruki took a step closer to her. What? What are you doing? Do you want to continue what we just did? Tsunade's face flushed instantly, gave him a fierce look, put a touch on his cheek very shyly, and ran away. Only the remaining aroma is left. Haruki smiled triumphantly. The only person who can make Tsunade show such a girlish side is himself. He turned around and went to the ninja school. Soon a 4-story building shaped like a red cake came into view. The 2 pillars form the gate, and there is a sign of Shinobi and Konoha on the gate. Haruki's arrival caused a sensation, outstanding temperament and stunning appearance. It is also very lethal to children, not to mention his name is Haruki. You are Haruki-sama. So handsome. I like you so much. A cute little girl looked at him with admiration in her eyes. Yes, kid, your name is. Haruki's words were interrupted by the little girl's scream. With bright eyes, she shouted, ah! Come and see everyone. Haruki-sama, it's alive. It's alive. Moment. Haruki was surrounded by a group of children. Let him have the feeling of a primary school teacher. Fortunately, the teachers from each class came and stopped the scene of losing control. Haruki breathed a sigh of relief. Experience the treatment of a previous star. If it is not necessary, it is better to have less of this situation. Go ahead, I'll take a look everywhere. Haruki refused the help of these chunin and walked towards the classroom. At the corner, he raised his brow and a little girl ran into him. The little girl has beautiful red long hair that is waist-length, wearing a light gray kimono-like robe, and her slender thighs are wrapped in black stockings. And the black belt in the middle showed her thin body, and it is not an exaggeration to describe her with a yin-yang grip. Ah, sorry, teacher. Are you? Uzumaki Kushina rubbed his forehead, his small face showing doubts. She can be sure that Haruki is not a teacher at the ninja school. After all, she would never forget such a person. Suntree. Haruki? Uzumaki Kushina suddenly covered his small mouth, as if to scream in surprise in the next moment. Her small eyes are shining. It's like seeing your favorite idol suddenly appear in front of you. Master Haruki. The voice seemed to tremble. Well, what's your name? Uzumaki Kushina. She blushed and said embarrassedly, I'm really sorry just now. Which class are you in now? Haruki touched her head. 6th grade class A. So you're going to graduate this year? Yeah. Uzumaki Kushina nodded obediently, unable to see her fiery temperament comparable to Tsunade. Haruki smiled, looked up again, and said, the kids over there can come out. I saw a figure suddenly appeared in front of him. The eye-catching golden explosive head, wearing a hooded jacket, about 10 years old, looks quite good-looking, can vaguely see the handsome future. Namikaze Minato? Uzumaki Kushina recognized him, snorted coldly, raised his small fist. You were eavesdropping just now? No, I just happened to pass by. Namikaze Minato waved his hands again and again. Haruki remembered that the relationship between the two of them was normal at this time. After graduation, Namikaze Minato's hero saves the United States to win Uzumaki Kushina's heart. But he found it very interesting. The joy of the Traverser is undoubtedly revealed. He thought of another thing. Now Jiraiya has not returned in Rain Shinobi Village. Haruki said with interest. Your name is Namikaze Minato, right? I think you are very good. Are you interested in being my apprentice? Haruki originally thought that Namikaze Minato would readily agree with his reputation, but he did not expect he hesitated. Uzumaki Kushina was dissatisfied. In her mind, Haruki is a very powerful ninja. And Namikaze Minato, such a stupid guy, can be regarded as a blessing from his previous life, and he even dared to hesitate. Do you think I am a medical ninja and can't teach you other ninjutsu? After Haruki thought about it, he knew what Namikaze Minato was thinking. Haruki-sama, it's not that I disrespect the medical ninja, but I don't have the talent to be a medical ninja. Namikaze Minato explained. It's quite talkative. Worthy of being the 4th Hokage of the future. Haruki smiled gently. It doesn't matter, it's still a while before you graduate. Maybe you will change your mind. He reached out and rubbed Namikaze Minato's hedgehog head. It feels good. Power should be the realization of the wishes of previous lives. And Namikaze Minato didn't dare to say anything. Oh my goddamn generation. Go to class, we will meet again. After saying goodbye to the two children, Haruki met the person in charge of the ninja school. As a Hokage, Sarutobi Hiruzen is naturally impossible to stay in school all the time. Master Haruki. Takahiro Oki attended the previous meeting and knew that Haruki was appointed as the vice principal. Gihong has to trouble you to do a few things. One is to readjust the curriculum and add 2 more classes. The other is that I will ask someone to train some teachers, but it will take time. The third is that the established research institute requires a research building. After listening to this, Oki Takahiro thought a little, and said, I will arrange it properly. After that, Haruki explained some trivial matters. For example, arrange for him to be a teacher in class of the 6th grade. When I got home, it was dusk. Is it a good day today? Haruki was a little surprised when he saw the table of sumptuous meals in front of Tsunade, or is it just that you just want to drink? Am I such an alcoholic in your mind? Tsunade turned by Kugan. This is to celebrate your being the deputy principal of Jonin's school. Haruki frowned. What vice principal? How could Tsunade care? Mostly this guy is greedy. There was no way to drink during the previous war, and now she finally returned to Konoha, she couldn't help it. Haruki didn't break it, and poured a glass of wine. Cheers. Tsunade's eyes curled into crescents with a smile, and he bumped into Haruki's wineglass and drank in one gulp. After half an hour, Haruki took a lot of effort to snatch the wineglass from Tsunade's hand. Give. Give me, I still want to drink. Tsunade's face flushed, his eyes blurred, and he grabbed a few times, but didn't catch the wine glass. Hey, don't drink it anymore. Haruki supported her and said softly. No. No. Tsunade hung on Haruki's neck, his head moved forward, his nose twitched. Wine. The smell of wine. Haruki was stunned. Tsunade cupped his head. Reach into your mouth. Sizzle, a long time. It's delicious. Good. The voice became weaker and weaker. Haruki's face turned dark, and Tsunade actually fell asleep. Doesn't this guy leave it after teasing? Sending her back to the room, Haruki ran to take a cold shower. The lights come on. Haruki picked up a piece of paper. The content of the politics and history class he prepared has been determined long ago, and it is not difficult to choose. The difficult part is how to quietly integrate the thoughts he wants to explain into the textbook. The main content of the history book is to introduce the ninja careers of the 3 Hokages, and a small part mentions the history of Konoha's major families. The core is struggle and unity. The political book is the key but also the difficulty. He chose a more tricky way. Collect what 3 Hokage adults have said, and then use your own understanding to explain. Haruki was very good at this in his previous life. With a casual word from the leader, he can quote up to 3,000 words. He guessed that the leader would be dumbfounded. Is this really what I said? But everyone is willing to listen to good things. Certain concepts are too bold, and they are relatively obscure. To be truly bold, you must wait until Tsunade becomes 4th Hokage, and Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo have to be dealt with. After writing, Haruki felt that there was a long way to go. Hokage is an open world, paying attention to pedigree theory. It is really difficult for civilians to get ahead. There is no blood, no pupil technique, no blood succession boundary. But Haruki felt that as long as there were enough resources, the upper limit of civilians could also be pushed to Jonin. Besides, there are civilian ninjas like Namikaze Minato. This involves the issue of productivity. And Hokage's world's first productive force is naturally chakra. Chakra can obviously do more. Rather than a few big shinobu villages coming over and hitting them, playing out the dog's mind. In addition, technology is also very important. For example, Orochimaru's curse seal, if perfect, is of great use to civilian ninjas. In the theater version, weapons such as the Sky Fortress of Shinobi and the Chrono Space Chakra Cannon of Cloud Shinobi Village appeared. But the ninja doesn't take this seriously, and Haruki grabbed it with both hands, and wanted it all. Take it easy. He turned off the light, went to Tsunade's room, and found her sleeping, half of her body exposed outside. Haruki walked to the bed softly and covered her with the quilt. The blush on her face has been reduced by more than half. Look safe. Like a sleeping beauty sealed. Haruki left the room after watching quietly for a while. No words for a night. My head hurts. Tsunade rubbed his forehead and appeared in front of Haruki. Who told you to drink so much last night? Haruki unbuttoned his apron and said with a smile, let us have breakfast. What is it? Tsunade looked at him expectantly. Lean meat porridge. My favorite. Tsunade cheered. Slow down. Haruki couldn't help being a little amused as she watched her impatient movements. Speaking of which, where is the Chuanshu ninja village that teaches you cooking? Tsunade took a bite with the rice spoon, feeling the refreshing taste of the gravy and rice that spread in his mouth. She is like a contented cat, her eyes narrowed slightly, and her long hair gleams with the morning light as her head shakes. I forgot too. HMPH, always think you are hiding something from me? Tsunade glared at him. She had never heard of Chuanshu Shinobu. Where? Apart from the last naked meeting, what secrets are there between us? Haruki scooped the porridge and watched her change because of herself, and an unspeakable light came naturally in her heart. What are you talking about? Tsunade said angrily. When Haruki saw this, he stopped teasing her. After dinner, he washed the kitchenware. I'm going to a ninja school, Haruki shouted. Go. Tsunade stopped writing the textbook, thought about it, and walked out of the study. Haruki stood at the door, saw her, and pointed to her cheek. Tsunade gave him a blank look, but walked up to him anyway. But unexpectedly Haruki hugged her hard. Feel the amazing elasticity. Haruki smiled maliciously. Tsunade reacted and slapped his forehead fiercely. You guy only knows to take advantage of me. After Haruki arrived at the ninja school, he found Takahiro Oki. Please give him 2 books of history and politics to Sarutobi Hiruzen, and mentioned that he is going to take the first class today. If 3rd Hokage has any changes, write them down and make the corrections, and he will be responsible for printing. There are 27 students in a class, 10 classes in a grade, and nearly 16-20 students in the whole school. Relying on Qingshu's handwriting alone is exhausting. Of course, shadow clone technique can also do it. But since you cannot do it, why do you have to do it yourself? Class of the 6th grade. After Haruki walked in, the whole classroom became very quiet. Fellow students. There was a friendly smile on Haruki's face. I am your new teacher, Haruki. As the name says, the atmosphere is like boiling water. Most of them saw the legendary ninja for the first time. Only Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina are slightly more normal. Haruki raised his hand, and the voice of the classroom disappeared. For children, the prestige of the famous Haruki is very high. Your teacher should have said that there will be 2 additional theoretical courses, Konoha Hokage Character Book, and The Great Inheritance of the Will of Fire, because the textbooks are not available, so I will talk about something else today. Haruki turned around and wrote a line on the blackboard. How to become Hokage. The students under the podium suddenly showed a curious look. Before the lecture, I will ask you a question. Who among you wants to be Hokage, or should you follow the example of Master Hokage? Not surprisingly, more than 2/3 raised their hands. Sarutobi Hiruzen has spared no effort in Will of Fire. Haruki saw Uzumaki Kushina's face tangled, and after hesitating for a few seconds, he raised his little hand. It's not that she doesn't want to be Hokage, but because she said in the self-introduction when she just started school that she wanted to be the first female Hokage, but she was ridiculed by her classmates. She violently beat those guys in annoyance, and thus won the title of Blood Red Pepper, and she also hated her long red hair very much. In a sense, she and her son Uzumaki Naruto are in a similar situation. So everyone knows how to become Hokage? Does anyone tell me? Haruki glanced around and saw many people raising their hands, the handsome guy in the 3rd row. Teacher, I think you have to be the strongest ninja to be qualified to be Hokage. Well, you sit down first, the pretty girl in the 4th row. A ninja approved by the village. A ninja who can sacrifice himself to protect the village. I think there must be wisdom and means beyond ordinary people. After hearing the speeches of several people, Haruki smiled slightly and concluded. You guys are very reasonable, and the most mentioned are strength and prestige, which means to get people's recognition, but is this absolute? He scanned the contemplative faces of everyone, waited for a moment, and continued to speak. Before becoming Hokage, there was a procedure for Jonin to vote. Since it is a vote, it means that more than one person has both strength and prestige. Have you ever wondered why they lost the election? The classroom was quiet. Haruki smiled. Why did you lose the election? Because it's not Hokage's line. The original Hokage of Konoha is completely monopolized. Even Shimura Danzo, who has always wanted to be Hokage, is also the apprentice of second Hokage. But these students naturally don't understand. Haruki wrote 2 words on the blackboard. Innovation. You should be confused. He actually changed the concept somewhat, but he can justify himself. Throughout the 3 Hokage adults, they have done nothing before, and this is innovation. If you want to become Hokage, you must have the spirit of innovation. If you only indulge in the achievements in front of you, it is absolutely impossible. Beyond oneself, it is impossible to become a Hokage. Haruki paused, waiting for them to digest. Genin, in a sense, is a toolman. They completed their lives step by step like a screw. Innovation requires abandoning the old bad things. All materials are constantly moving and changing. After all, the path of the predecessors is not your own. The teacher hopes that you can all follow and implement your own forbearance. To be honest, they certainly don't understand these principles. But it will always be effective in the long run, not to mention that the children in the Hokage world are still very precocious. For example, Uchiha Itachi thought about the meaning of life at the age of 5 and went to the battlefield at the age of 6. In addition, he gave this class to Sarutobi Hiruzen. 3rd Hokage has a crystal ball that monitors the whole village. The so-called telescope technique. At noon, Haruki called Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato. Do you understand what the teacher said? Somewhat I didn't understand. Uzumaki Kushina scratched his head in embarrassment. I have a little doubt. Namikaze Minato asked musingly, Teacher, how do you explain that matter is constantly moving and changing? Haruki nodded in relief, as he deserves to be a Hokage. This sentence seems very simple, but it is troublesome to explain. Well, you can't make it clear in a while, you will know later. Haruki patted their 2 little heads and said, Come to my house for dinner at noon today. Huh? The 2 raised their heads in surprise. Not willing. Willing. Haruki led them back home, and Tsunade was there. Sanin's name is better than him. In addition to Uzumaki Kushina, even Namikaze Minato, who has always been calm, is also very excited. And Tsunade was also a little surprised. Unexpectedly, I saw people from the Uzumaki clan. Her grandmother Uzumaki Mito is also from the Uzumaki family. Haruki prepares lunch in the kitchen. Although the Hokage world is dominated by chakra, it also has a certain level of technology. For example, computers, electric woks and the like. So the kitchen is not unfamiliar to him, on the contrary, it is very kind. He was from Sichuan and Shu in his previous life, and his father was a cook. His cooking skills are also good. Wow. Uzumaki Kushina looked surprised, looking at dishes that he had never seen before. Beautiful and exudes a mouth-watering fragrance. I will introduce you to twice-cooked pork, mapo tofu, kung pao chicken, shredded pork with fish flavor, and husband and wife lung slices. Haruki handed her the chopsticks and said, "This is my hometown dish, try it." After the Uzumaki clan was destroyed, Uzumaki Kushina has been relying on Konoha's relief money and has not had such a rich and delicious lunch for a long time. She looked at Haruki and Tsunade in a daze. It seems to be back in childhood. After she arrived at Konoha, most of her classmates laughed at her. No one has ever treated her so well. As for Namikaze Minato, she naturally forgot. "What's the matter?" Haruki asked when she stopped her chopsticks. "Nothing." Uzumaki Kushina took a deep breath and said, "If I grow up 10 years old, I will definitely marry Haruki-sensei." Namikaze Minato was shocked. The twice-cooked pork in the mouth is no longer fragrant. "What about me? What about me? Obviously I came first." Haruki quickly looked at Tsunade, and was relieved to see that she had no response. "It's really a big man, and he doesn't smelt copper. I think Minato is pretty good." Haruki pointed to Namikaze Minato, and got his thankful look. Even Haruki-sensei can't compare with 1 in 10,000. Uzumaki Kushina looked disdainful. Namikaze Minato only felt a thunderstrike on his head. Grievously plained a bite of rice. Only Namikaze Minato's injured world is complete. Haruki looked at his downcast look and comforted him. "You still have a chance." "I have decided." Namikaze Minato raised his head. "I want to be a ninja like Haruki-sensei." "What?" Haruki didn't react for the first time, but afterwards he was a little bit dumbfounded. His original persona was based on Namikaze Minato. Now he in turn uses himself as a template. It's okay to ban dolls. Haruki once again sighed the benefits of crossing early. "When I mention Namikaze Minato in the future, I will definitely not be able to avoid myself. You two be careful on the way." Haruki stood at the door, watching the two of them. "Minato, remember to protect Kushina." Namikaze Minato was trying to show himself, but Uzumaki Kushina didn't give him a chance at all. "I don't need his protection." Haruki almost laughed when he saw this scene. It's so interesting. After the two left, he came to Orochimaru's home. "Orochimaru-kun, am I here?" Haruki knocked on the door and found it was locked. He took out the key, opened the door, and entered the basement. Lights like daylight. The small area is full of various experimental equipment. Decanter, beaker, pipette, iron stand, alcohol lamp, etc. "Come on, let's start class." Orochimaru glanced at him, not surprised by his appearance. "Take off the bloody white gloves, hang a small blackboard in the corner, and sit down with a small bench. Before class, tell you something." Haruki picked up a pointer stick in his hand. "What's the matter?" Orochimaru was okay. "One is that you remember to move the laboratory to the research institute of the ninja school. The other is to cooperate with Byakugan to research a new type of long-range weapon. The third is..." "What the hell do you take me to do?" Orochimaru interrupted him. "Of course it's Dora A. Ahem, good friend, good friend." Seeing his look getting ugly, Haruki sighed. "Someone uses mine, eats mine, and even takes my class for free. Even the teacher wouldn't call me." Orochimaru was silent for a moment, and said, "I don't have enough staff. I will transfer some people from the orphanage to the institute." Haruki thought for a while and said, "Besides, after a while, I will find you a group of wandering ninjas." In the past 3 years, he not only won the title of Schwangbi in the wood industry, but also did a lot of things. For example, Konoha's first orphanage was built and a large number of people displaced by the war were adopted. And these people are the best training targets. "Okay. Class will begin now." Haruki knocked on the small blackboard and wrote a line of words with chalk. "Heredity and evolution. Last time we talked about genetic factors, today we talk about genes, its relationship with chromosomes, its nature and expression, and its mutations." One night passed. Orochimaru is full of spirits. And Haruki was too sleepy. In order to recall the knowledge of previous lives, he also deliberately thought of various ways to stimulate memory. After returning home, make up for sleep. Tsunade has long been used to it. "This is the same every time I come back from Orochimaru. Don't know what the two of them were doing all night? It was noon since Haruki woke up. After a simple meal, he came to the ninja school. As expected, Orochimaru moved to the new research building as he said last night. Soon. But Haruki didn't bother him. Although there are only 2 classes a week, his task is not light. Teachers have to be trained. And Sarutobi Hiruzen finished reading the textbook and did not change it. According to Takahiro Oki, Sarutobi Hiruzen is very satisfied and specifically instructed him to cooperate. If there is any difficulty, he should report to him in time. 1 month later, the ninja school has entered formality. Haruki mingle with the teachers and students. Especially Uzumaki Kashina and Namikaze Minato, under the guide of gourmet food, 1 mouthful, 1 teacher, shouting happily. There was a knock on the door. Come in. Haruki raised his head from the desk and shouted. Teacher, what can I do? Namikaze Minato asked. Are you interested in carrying out tasks with me? But I don't know how to medical ninjutsu. B-level mission, on the border of the country of fire and the country of rain, destroy a band of bandits. I heard that the leader is a wandering chunin, who often takes bandits to rob. The Big Island Chamber of Commerce in the Land of Fire, it's 100,000 taels. If you go together, we will divide it equally. Haruki looked at him with a smile. He knew that Namikaze Minato was just a civilian, not rich. 50,000 taels was enough for him to spend a long time. Teacher, why do you want to divide me so many benefits for no reason? Namikaze Minato was unexpectedly calm. Haruki admired him even more. It's very simple. Didn't I say to accept you as a disciple? Namikaze Minato was a little surprised when he heard this. He originally thought that Haruki just said it casually, but he didn't expect that he really wanted to accept him as a disciple. During this time, he and Haruki get along very well. If after graduation, led by Haruki, there is no conflict. But now that Haruki said this, he was very curious. How does a medical ninja attract him? So he nodded and said, I will go with the teacher. But if you think about it, Rain Country is a war zone. Maybe you will meet Tsunade's ninjas, Haruki reminded him. Namikaze Minato's face condensed, but he didn't say anything. Yes, you already have the basic qualities of a ninja. Go and prepare. We will leave in the afternoon. Okay. When he left, Haruki unfolded the scroll. After reading it, flames burst from his fingertips and burned the scroll. Afternoon. Haruki couldn't help smiling when he saw Namikaze Minato carrying a black school bag. It seems that a lot of things have been prepared. Follow me. Haruki leapt up, very fast, and headed out of the village. Upon seeing Namikaze Minato, a body flicker technique caught up. Good. During the run, Haruki had been observing Namikaze Minato, and even caused him several bird-hitting accidents. It deserves to be able to learn Flying Thunder God. His motor nerves and dynamic vision are excellent. This is a natural talent. It's hard to train. A little test, Haruki was very satisfied. The current Namikaze Minato is only 10 years old, and he has not been exposed to Jiraiya and Sarutobi Hiruzen, so he is very malleable. After becoming his apprentice, he can inherit a new version of Will of Fire. It is the 5th Hokage appointed by him. Well, Tsunade is 4th Hokage. Stop and rest. Seeing that the sky was getting dark, Shu raised a fire. I'll see if there are any hairs or the like. After speaking, the body plunged into the darkness. San Shinobi. Haruki pressed his neck, and after seeing his forehead protector, he smiled slightly. I have been with me for so long, has the news been delivered? San Shinobi's eyes widened when he heard the words. Is it a trap? But would Konoha Schwangbi personally make bait too outrageous? It seems to be passed out. Haruki broke his neck and threw the body aside. I hope that those who come will not disappoint me. In the gloomy sky, heavy raindrops rolled down Chakra's shield. Haruki doesn't like the country of rain. The endless weather always reminded him of the rainy season. Teacher, aren't we going to kill the bandits? Namikaze Minato looked around at the dilapidated buildings and couldn't help asking. Take you to meet someone. Haruki rubbed his hair. Didn't you say that Jiraiya is the favorite among Sannin? Is Jiraiya-sama here? Namikaze Minato suddenly looked surprised. Haruki gave a soft tut. I really don't know what Jiraiya this guy is worthy of his liking. He recalled that after the battle with Hanzo, Jiraiya met Nagato, Yahiko, and Konan, and decided to stay. Who? Haruki hadn't approached yet, and accompanied by a violent drink, a paper kunai shot at him. He grabbed the kunai. See the flame of the detonating talisman again. Haruki frowned, and before the explosion, kunai disappeared into his hand. Konan, your ninjutsu is getting better and better. He looked at the girl at the door. The light blue-purple hair is especially eye-catching on rainy days. Although she is dressed plainly, the shabby clothes can't stop her beautiful appearance. Why are you here? Where is Jiraiya? The teacher said he went out to collect materials. Shente is based on materials. Haruki looked helpless. As expected, it is you, Jiraiya, who can also collect materials from Rain Shinobi village. Have you eaten? Haruki rolled up his cuffs. The three of you haven't eaten the food I cooked for months, right? Conan's small face immediately showed surprise, and the corners of his mouth seemed to have saliva. She subconsciously covered her belly, and said embarrassedly, I'm troubled Master Haruki. Well, I want to eat grilled fish. No problem. Haruki promised. He knew Conan likes to eat grilled fish. His name is Namikaze Minato. He is my student. Strictly speaking, you should be his senior sister. Haruki turned to introduce Namikaze Minato, and patted him on the shoulder, calling senior sister Conan, I won't suffer in the future. Although Namikaze Minato didn't understand, he still listened to Haruki's words. Sister Conan. Junior Minato. Conan smiled, and she folded a paper flower. I have nothing to give you. Thank you sister, it's beautiful. Namikaze Minato cherished the paper flowers and put them in his school bag. A sense of accomplishment suddenly rose in Haruki's heart. It seems not bad to develop the role and change the destiny. While Haruki was preparing lunch, Nagato and Yahiko returned. After a lot of greetings, he showed enthusiasm for the younger brother who suddenly appeared. Their current thinking is not extreme. Namikaze Minato is about the same age as them, and has a high EQ. Talking and chatting is almost a good friend that has not been seen for many years. Haruki. The Jiraiya people did not arrive first. Don't make a noise, or there will be no food to eat later. Haruki glared at him and said dissatisfied. Okay. Jiraiya smiled flatteringly. He has been greedy for Haruki's Sichuan food for a long time. Haruki clapped his hands when he was done. Jiraiya consciously left the kitchen with the dishes. After a while, Conan also came to help. The 4 minors are here and can't drink. When Haruki saw Jiraiya took out the hip flask, he quickly stopped him. Jiraiya suddenly became tangled. He is as addicted to alcohol as Tsunade. It's okay, the teacher can drink as much as you want, Conan said with a smile. Look, this is a good student. Regardless of Haruki's eyes, Jiraiya poured the wine. Is this the student you accepted? Yeah. Namikaze Minato. Haruki thought for a while, somehow robbed his student, let him drink or drink. Besides, he just kept his own personal settings. Master Jiraiya. Namikaze Minato greeted. Yes, very handsome, just like you, a little white face. Jiraiya glanced at Namikaze Minato and commented. He was quite unhappy about Haruki who suddenly appeared to be Tsunade's boyfriend. Namikaze Minato was suddenly hit. The original vision for Jiraiya was also somewhat broken. You really can't stop your mouth even if you eat. Haruki shook his head. This time you came just right. Jiraiya smashed the grilled fish, and his voice was a little fuzzy. The Tanjiro story you told me last time hasn't been finished yet, I feel itchy. After the story, you will have time when you return to Konoha, and there will be business for me to come today. Haruki looked at the 3 Conan and said. Remember what I said before I left? Now Konoha has allowed the wandering ninja to become an official ninja. If you want, you can become Konoha's ninja without having to live the wandering life before. Haruki, you should know Nagato's eyes. Jiraiya put down his chopsticks. The main reason why he did not bring back the Conan trio was Rinnegan. Returning to Konoha, another bloody storm will be set off. Haruki was about to say more, but saw Nagato shaking his head. My parents died in the hands of Konoha shinobi, and I will not go to Konoha. Haruki could only sigh upon hearing this. Fate is so. He originally thought that if the 3 of them volunteered, perhaps the secret Uchiha Madara would not act. But now it seems that only the 3 of them can stay here. Haruki was not a soft-hearted person. If you ignore Uchiha Madara and Black Zetsu, he might really hurt the killer. After eating, Haruki called Yahiko, Nagato and Conan alone. I know your ideal is to hope for peace in the ninja world. After Jiraiya met the 3 of them, Haruki also followed them for a while and got acquainted with them. Jiraiya will return to Konoha after all. What are you going to do then? The 3 of them glanced at each other, and the most stable Yahiko spoke. We want to build an organization to fight Hanzo's Rain Shinobi village. What is your organization's name? Haruki knew that things were still moving towards the original. I haven't figured it out yet. Yahiko scratched his head. If Haruki-sama has any good suggestions, I can say. Dawn. Haruki looked at the 3 of them and said softly, only when we awaken, the sky will break. Dawn is not only the dawn, but also the red sun. Meaningful words. The Yahiko 3 fell into contemplation. Haruki took out 2 scrolls and handed them to Yahiko. One scroll is my analysis of the current situation in the Rain Country. If you are interested, you can take a look. The other scroll is the medical ninjutsu I learned, which contains 1 or 2 forbidden techniques, which may help you. Thank you, Haruki-sama. The three of them bowed quickly. They knew the importance of the forbidden technique. If Konoha knew about it, Haruki would probably betray the village. I am also a war orphan. The three of you and I have the same sickness. If you can help some, please help. One more thing, if you encounter a guy who calls himself Madara, you must be careful. Okay, Haruki-sama. In this way, a slightly different Akatsuki organization was quietly born in the dilapidated room. I don't know if what I did was right or wrong. Haruki murmured to the 4 Jiraiya who waved goodbye in the distance. A butterfly flapping its wings can cause a big tsunami. What he is doing today will inevitably produce different changes someday. For him, this change is not beneficial to him. Thinking of this, he smiled. Anyway, it is a traveler with a plugin. If he only wants to keep the plot of the original book unchanged, how can he usher in a different ending? Go, Minato. Haruki patted his head. Only then did Namikaze Minato put down the right hand that had been waving, with reluctance on his face. He and Yahiko were able to talk unexpectedly. Teacher, when can I see them next time? Namikaze Minato followed Haruki and couldn't help asking. Although he is 10 years old, he knows no less than an adult. Yahiko and the three stayed in Rain Shinobi Village, where Hanzo is known as a demigod. No one can predict where they will go in the future. I will meet. After Haruki finished speaking, he suddenly remembered that if according to the original work, they would never see each other. Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina both died in the Nine Tails chaos. Minato, so if you worship me as a teacher, it's a big advantage. Huh. Teacher. What do you mean by that? Haruki's inexplicable emotion made Namikaze Minato very puzzled. Except for the special medical treatment Jonin, he couldn't see what advantage he was taking. During the mission, don't ask irrelevant things. Haruki turned to the B-level mission. The bandit to be wiped out occupies a peak of the Aso Mountains in the Country of Fire. The road is narrow and easy to defend and difficult to attack, so you need to plan a relatively safe route. Me? Namikaze Minato pointed to himself. Didn't I come to hold the thigh to divide the money? Of course it's you. Haruki smiled and said, it is a matter of course to take money to do business. Hurry up, you only have 1 day. Namikaze Minato immediately took out the map and pen he was carrying, found the Aso Mountains, and began to outline the route. When Haruki saw this, he was a little surprised. Unexpectedly, he was actually prepared. All right. After a while, Namikaze Minato put down his pen and handed the map to Haruki. Good drawing. Haruki glanced. Namikaze Minato's route was not abrupt, smooth and standard. Climbing up from the steepest wall of the Aso Mountains? Yeah. I heard from the teacher that there is only one ninja in this group of bandits. Under normal circumstances, they would not meet Jonin. Their main defense must be the mountain road to the north. The mountain wall to the south is too straight. It's clear at a glance, it's not suitable for large forces, and the defensive strength is relatively much less. Namikaze Minato paused, and smiled. Of course, the teacher is Jonin. It's too easy to hide from the bandits. This route is actually planned for myself. Haruki returned the map to him. Hearing the last sentence, he glanced at him and said nothing. After half an hour on the road, the Aso mountain range was in sight. Teacher, how do we act? Namikaze Minato took out a handful of kunai from his shoulder bag and looked around very guarded. Teacher? Old. No one answered. He turned his head and found that Haruki was missing. In an instant, the whole person was a little bit stunned. He first ruled out the possibility of Haruki being taken captive. After all, it was too difficult to quietly take a Jonin away. And the rest? Namikaze Minato sighed. What about lying down? The sunny tree lightly fell on a tree on the top of the mountain like a bird. The perception opened and 8 bandits guarding around were found. He didn't care and looked down. Namikaze Minato is jumping between the mountain walls. A faint layer of chakra floats on his body, blending him with the mountain wall, like a chameleon. If you don't look closely, it's hard to see. A few minutes later, Namikaze Minato approached the top of the mountain. He hid behind the protruding rock, did not act rashly, and seemed to be observing the guards. For a moment, he leapt up, his hands expanded outwards, flying out of the 8 realms of kunai. The next second, a muffled hum sounded. 8 bandits fell. They died of the same cause, all with their throats running through. Namikaze Minato fell on the ground and let out a sigh of relief. Before he could think about it, he looked forward. 4 white 2-story buildings appeared in sight. Very simple wooden house, but it proves that there are a lot of bandits in this group. He hesitated for a moment, and came to a tree not far from the wooden house. He stared at the middle building, and there were faint traces of chakra. Think about it a little bit. He slowly approached the wooden house in the middle. It may be because of the base camp. There are no bandits on patrol. Namikaze Minato hid in the blind spot of the gatekeeper, using wire and kunai to set a simple trap. Then he touched the bag with his right hand and took out 3 black projectiles. Quickly throw it into the sky. At the same time, both hands form a seal. Si Chen Mao Yin. Accompanied by 3 abnormal noises, a strong golden flash enveloped the top of the mountain. Who? The first person who came out was a middle-aged ninja wearing a black robe. He felt the slight chakra fluctuations of the flash, but suddenly met a strong light and closed his eyes subconsciously. Namikaze Minato stopped printing. The small mouth opened, and a long flaming dragon swept across quickly. Fire-style dragonfire technique. But he didn't go directly to the middle-aged ninja. Instead, he started from the wooden house near him and brushed it up, and the whole base camp was ablaze. The screams were heard. Namikaze Minato, a body flicker technique, disappeared in place. At the same time, the fingers of the right hand tick. The buried kuwu flew out of the soil, forming an iron-colored circle, and flew towards the middle-aged ninja. Asshole. Where are you King Mice hiding? A series of offensives made the middle-aged ninja unexpected. He just blinked, and things were already heading towards the worst signs. Hearing the sound of the wind, the middle-aged ninja dodges kunai extremely quickly. Kuwu is all around him. The middle-aged ninja angrily looks for Namikaze Minato. But the scene is really chaotic. The fire and the bandits running around made it difficult for him to identify. The middle-aged ninja's sanity has recovered a bit. This person has been in secret, indicating that his strength is not as good as himself. Thinking of this, his hands began to seal. He wants to put out the fire first. But suddenly, he noticed some unusual noises, and suddenly turned his head. The original Namikaze Minato had fallen, and one of them was burning silently. Detonation symbol? It's over. The astonishing firelight filled his eyes. Layers of heat suddenly spread from the top of the mountain. Haruki appeared. Namikaze Minato, who was making up his knife, speeded up. In the end, none of the bandits stayed, and the entire army was wiped out. Teacher, fortunately not insulting my life. Namikaze Minato walked up to him, breathless. Continuous use of ninjutsu makes his chakra exhausted. You are qualified. Haruki nodded. He has been observing in secret. Namikaze Minato's performance made him sigh. If it weren't for the protagonist's halo, how could there be Uzumaki Naruto? He turned around, looking through the dense smoke, and saw Sand Shinobi encircling the Aso Mountains. 2. Somehow, in the previous battle, together with Tsunade, he solved the poison of a 1,000-generation mother-in-law. Has long been on Sand Shinobi's blacklist. Now by coincidence that he is alone, it is impossible for Sand Shinobi to act without action. The next step is for the teacher to show you whether I am qualified. Teacher? Namikaze Minato looked up suspiciously, wondering what Haruki meant. Exhibit. What show? A gleam of light flashed through Haruki's eyes. Fearing that he would escape, Sand Shinobi and his group appeared extremely cautious. While we have time now, Minato, let's come to class. Haruki pointed to the corpse on the ground, before he could react, and asked, do you know why they became bandits? Namikaze Minato subconsciously looked at the still burning base camp. The flames mixed with miserable conditions, making people think of the word hell for no reason. It's war. Although Haruki seemed weird to Namikaze Minato, as a student, he still gave his own answer. Yes, they used to live and work in peace and contentment just like us, but the war has displaced them. If they can't live, they can only resist, but they are not ninjas, they can only reach out to civilians who are safe and secure. Haruki glanced at him, then asked, Minato, what do you think is the relationship between the country of fire and Konoha? What relationship? Namikaze Minato pondered for a moment, then hesitated. It should be an ally. Ally? Haruki's only impression of the original Fire Country daimyo is that he is a toolman. When choosing a new Hokage or being asked to give money, I probably only say I am the same and I agree. The correct statement is that Konoha is a military organization of the country of fire and has a certain degree of independence. The country of fire provides economic support for Konoha, and Konoha provides protection for the country of fire. After Haruki gave the explanation of the original work according to this schwank, his tone was slightly solemn. Minato, do you say that Hokage should protect Konoha village or the civilians in the land of fire? Namikaze Minato was stunned. He had never considered such a problem since he was a child. Hokage's protection of Konoha is naturally justified, but it is also said to provide protection for the country of fire. Both should be protected? His tone was a little uncertain. Protection? What did we protect? Haruki smiled coldly. This devastation is the result of our protection. Namikaze Minato couldn't help but said, it's not just Konoha's fault. You're right, it's the world's problem. Haruki sighed and said word by word. Minato, your wish is to become Hokage, so do you want to protect the tens of thousands of Konoha, or the hundreds of thousands of civilians in the Land of Fire? Have you ever thought about a problem? If one day, these civilians have become ninjas, even if they are just ordinary genins, what kind of storms and rains will it cause? Namikaze Minato subconsciously imagined such a scene. Thousands of civilians, like a downpour, were flooded with lightning and thunder. He couldn't help feeling a kind of fear. Teacher, you. Namikaze Minato suddenly understood Haruki a little. But just because of my understanding, different emotions of confusion and shock arise from my heart. Lost is beyond his cognition. The shock is that there is still such a road. But he quickly thought of the difficulty. This is not comparable to Hokage. Shesh. Haruki raised his index finger and said with a smile, today's class is over, we have guests coming. Guest? Namikaze Minato didn't react to the words. But when he recovered, his face paled. I don't know when the top of the mountain he was standing on was surrounded by sand shinobi. In the first 2 years, Sanagakure and Konoha village fought hard. Originally wanted to be led by 3rd Kazekage, who is known as the strongest wind shadow, and Chiyo and Ebizo brothers and sisters. However, they could not attack for a long time and could only turn into the current local war. In other words, Sand Shinobi is still the enemy. So the fate of him and Haruki can be imagined. Teacher. Namikaze Minato squeezed kunai tightly. He looked at the 3 jonin in front of him, and took a deep breath. Wait for the teacher, don't worry about me, I will stop them, you go quickly. Oh? What did I hear? The boss Sand Shinobi in the center seemed to be amused by Namikaze Minato's words. How dare a little kid say such a big thing? After he finished speaking, a group of people burst into laughter. You. Namikaze Minato has an ugly face. Although he is too precocious, he is only 10 years old after all. Haruki patted his head, his eyes flashed across the audience. 3 jonin, 9 chunin, this is afraid to concentrate all the troops on the nearby battlefield. I really can count on me. Master Haruki. What do you say? Manpower is needed to deal with you. The head of Sand Shinobi raised his hand and said with a smile, if it weren't for you and Princess Tsunade, Konoha would have been defeated in the hands of 1,000 generations of mother-in-law in the past battle, so why is this anxious scene today? Without me, the same result. Haruki shook his head. How is it possible? The leader of Sand Shinobi didn't believe it. I was also a participant in that battle. Haruki-sama's medical ninjutsu that saved thousands of people in one fell swoop is breathtaking. Without you, how could the result be the same? Chingshu was too lazy to explain. He took out a kunai from his bag. Kunai? You didn't think of the situation now, did you? A medical ninja was forced to take kunai. A strong hostility appeared on the face of Sand Shinobi's boss. Although you did not kill me Sand Shinobi alone, but thousands of people died because of you, so Haruki-sama, please go on the road. The invisible wind and waves revolve, for an instant. The huge chakra blows away the remaining wood ash from the bandit camp, and flies layer after layer to the sky. Namikaze Minato sank a heart into the abyss. It was only then that he understood how impossible what had been said before. The gap between Genin and Jonin is too big, Minato. Haruki stood in front of him, his expression unchanged, look clearly. What? Because of the wind, Namikaze Minato shouted loudly. Haruki lifted it easily, and Kumo flew towards the center of the wind pressure. The head of Sand Shinobi gave a cruel smile, wind-style windblade. A level ninjutsu. He released his hand, and the wind in front of him swelled rapidly in a very exaggerated posture, bursting out terrifying waves. The transparent wind has become countless blades. But Kuwu still passed through the wind curtain. The leader of Sand Shinobi was slightly startled. But then he ignored it. Although I don't know why this kunai hasn't been shattered, Haruki can definitely be shattered. But the next moment, as if the clouds broke through the sunrise, a white flash of light pierced the sky. Haruki suddenly appeared above the kunai. The boss of Sand Shinobi looked at him, and even his thoughts did not turn around. The silvery chakra was condensed in Haruki's hands, like a blue star in a summer night, and then hit his head. The skin broke open, the bone marrow burst, and the flesh and blood flew. Kunai turned back again. The white flash disappeared in one piece of blood fog and appeared in another piece of blood fog. Namikaze Minato watched this scene in shock. Kuwu is like a reminder. Death, only death. In the end, only white flashes remained in his eyes. Haruki stopped in front of Namikaze Minato, his index finger put on kunai. He smiled slightly, there was no blood on his body. The warm sunlight fell on him. Want to learn? I will teach you. Namikaze Minato hesitated and stopped. The curiosity in his heart made him feel uncomfortable. Following Haruki, looking at him subconsciously. Calm. It seems that the person who killed Sand Shinobi in one breath was not the same as him. But he couldn't forget. Just close your eyes and you can flash that white flash. Namikaze Minato has learned the name of ninjutsu from Haruki. Flying Thunder God Second Stage. A level ninjutsu developed by second Hokage Senju Tobirama. Up there is an S-level Flying Thunder God technique. He naturally understands what S-level means. Besides, it is a very special time and space ninjutsu. In addition, there is also the attack ninjutsu used in the second stage of Flying Thunder God, a level Rasengan. Teacher Haruki said it was created based on Tailed Beast Bomb. When I thought that I could learn such ninjutsu, with Namikaze Minato's restraint, I felt anxious. Minato, I counted, you have seen me more than 30 times along the way. Haruki glanced at him. If there is anything you want to ask, just ask, lest you hurt your body. Namikaze Minato was embarrassed. Unexpectedly, Haruki could see his actions clearly. But you deliberately recorded the number of times, is it too boring? That. I always thought you were a pure medical ninja. The tone of Namikaze Minato's speech was more respectful than before. Only now did he recognize the master of Haruki from the bottom of his heart. Because it's not necessary. If medical ninjutsu is enough to solve the problem, why should I be on the court myself? After Haruki saw his expression, he smiled. Do you think I'm a little bit embarrassed? No. Namikaze Minato shook his head like a rattle. It's just showing the enemy to be weak. Haruki no longer explained. The most important thing was to confuse Sarutobi Hiruzen and others. If he showed that he was not inferior to Tsunade's combat level, I am afraid he would die faster than Konoha's White Fang. And a pure medical ninja would not threaten Hokage's position. Namikaze Minato opened his mouth, very clever, and didn't ask any more. He noticed something wrong at this time. Teacher, this doesn't seem to be the way back to Konoha? Well, let's go to the Big Island Chamber of Commerce. Oshima Chamber of Commerce. Namikaze Minato heard the unfamiliar name, thought for a moment, and remembered that it was this Chamber of Commerce that had released the B-level mission. But should I go back to the village to receive the reward? This is generally the case. Konoha Village, or any task in Ninja Village, is paid by the client at the same time as the client submits it. But this time the situation is special, it's a private commission. Huh. Teacher, this seems to violate the village rules? Namikaze Minato asked for a while. If you don't tell me, who knows? Haruki glanced at him. Do you want to betray the teacher? Of course it's impossible. Namikaze Minato shook his head quickly. Rules are used to break, especially unreasonable rules. Haruki seemed to point. Without waiting for Namikaze Minato to think, I heard him say, here, the town where the Oshima Chamber of Commerce is located. Namikaze Minato looked towards the busy street. Unlike the desolation of the wild, it seems that it has not been affected by the war. The shops on both sides are mostly with wooden signs of Big Island hung. Although he doesn't know much about the Oshima Chamber of Commerce, depending on this situation, the strength of the Chamber of Commerce is not weak. The main business of the Oshima Chamber of Commerce is grain trading. In the past few years, it has made a fortune from the Second Ninja World War. Now it is well known in the Land of Rain and the Land of Fire. Haruki noticed his gaze and introduced him casually. In addition to regular food, they also introduced something called compressed biscuits, which are popular with civilians because of their high quality and low price. Compressed biscuit? Isn't it similar to Bingliang pill? Well, you react quickly. Haruki praised him and continued, but the Bingliang pill is for ninjas, and it is considered a pill. I chatted a few more words. He stopped in front of a building that seemed to be an ancient mansion. I'm Jonin from Konoha Village, please let me know. My lord, please wait a moment. The guard at the gate saw Haruki's forehead protector and immediately showed respect. Not for a while. He went and returned. Please come with me, 2 adults. Led by the guards, Haruki and Namikaze Minato came to the hall. A middle-aged rich man suddenly got up. There was a harmonious smile on his face. Master Haruki, you are here in person, and the brilliance is brilliant. The bandits in the Aso Mountains have been wiped out, anyway, not far away, just come over. Your Konoha ninja is efficient. Yoshiyuki Oshima gave a thumbs up and looked at Namikaze Minato again. What is this little brother? Namikaze Minato, my student. Nice to meet you. After Oshima Yoshiyuki finished greeting, the topic turned back to the task. Then Haruki-sama will come with me to receive the reward? Yeah. Minato, you're waiting for me here. Okay, teacher. Haruki followed Oshima Yoshiyuki to a remote room. He raised his head and saw the people sitting in the room. He looks exactly like him. Wood clone. After Haruki and Tsunade met, they received a lot of rewards for their affection and love system. But most of them are very general. Only the medical ninjutsu obtained during binding and the wood style obtained during confession are the most precious. And his wood style is completely different from the half-hearted Yamato, and is closer to Senju Hashirama. Only one sage body is missing. As one of the special clones, Wood Clone has a very realistic effect. He stayed here, naturally for the convenience of contact and protection. The Oshima Chamber of Commerce is exactly the force he created 3 years ago. Like the Konoha orphanage, it takes in the wandering ninjas and refugees created by the war. According to his instructions, he cultivated ninjas and improved wheat and rice, and used chakra to grow the land. Master Haruki, in accordance with normal procedures, you need to check the password. Oshima Yoshiyuki poured a cup of tea and said, a single spark. It can start a prairie fire. Haruki took the teacup and took a sip, starting to talk business. I need a group of ninjas to enter Konoha. What are the requirements? His background is innocent and can withstand Konoha Genbu's investigation. This group of people, if they can break into Anbu and Genbu the best, if they can't, they will go to the ninja school to find me. Understood. Oshima Yoshiyuki nodded. I will specially select the strong-willed guy. Work. Haruki breathed a sigh of relief. How are you doing? The situation is great. Speaking of this, Oshima Yoshiyuki regained his businessman-like shrewdness. Sir, you have the courage to use chakra for farming. I didn't expect the effect to be so good. In terms of quality alone, our Oshima Chamber of Commerce can be called the first. It was not discovered by Rain Shinobi Village and Konoha Village, right? No, Oshima Yoshiyuki Chubby smiled. Your method is useful. Some time ago, Hanzo personally sent someone to investigate, trying to find out who was selling food, but he didn't know the village he was investigating, all the villagers. All our people. This is not his way. Haruki smiled. The last thing, Yahiko, Nagato, and Konan founded the Akatsuki organization. They should gather a tremendous amount of power, especially the top ninjas. You can cooperate with them appropriately. They lack food and you lack protection. Maybe the Oshima Chamber of Commerce can completely control the economic lifeline of the country of rain. Minato, this is the first time you have traveled far, right? Haruki saw Hokage Rock's head from a distance, and couldn't help feeling like going home. Although Konoha has many problems, this strange world only makes Haruki belong to it. As Konoha approached, Namikaze Minato's tight face relaxed. He has not graduated now, and basically will not leave Konoha. Not to mention going to a remote country like the Land of Rain. What do you think? It's better for Konoha, there is no war. Namikaze Minato said in a deep voice. This is true. Except for the Nine Tails chaos, several ninja wars have not spread to Konoha. I can only say that the peers set off. Minato, go back and have a good rest, and we will officially start practicing tomorrow. Yes. Namikaze Minato became excited immediately. Haruki smiled. At this moment he was like a 10-year-old boy. Back home, Tsunade was not there. It should be in the ninja school. Haruki glanced at the time and went out again. Medical class. The newly established class is temporarily attached to the ninja school. The current medical department is not complete. Haruki remembers that the original Chinese medical department was divided into multiple branches, including emergency medical care, corpse treatment, and animal training. At present, there are only emergency medical classes. Tsunade is giving a lecture. Haruki listened for a while, and they were all very basic things. Master Haruki. Shish. Haruki raised her index finger falsely, lowered her voice, and looked at the gentle-looking young woman with glasses. Yukushi Nanoyu. The current monitor of the medical class. Although he is not old, he has a high level of medical ninjutsu. Haruki and she can also be regarded as comrades in arms who have fought bloody battles together. Master Haruki, when did you come back? Just. I went to school as soon as I came back. The relationship between the two adults is really good. Yinayu's eyes showed envy. If you want, you can too. I know that your suitors can go from the head of Konoha village to the end of the village. Haruki said with a smile while staring at Tsunade intently. Master Haruki would be a joke. Yinayu helped his glasses and said seriously, but I have no plans to fall in love. Don't fall in love but like children. But thank you for helping me run the orphanage. After Haruki finished speaking, he met Tsunade's eyes. Suddenly, a warm smile seemed to bloom on her face in spring. So much so that the students who noticed Tsunade's actions turned their heads to look at Haruki. This suddenly realized. You should know that Tsunade made a slight mistake during the lecture, and it was so angry that he smashed it down with a punch. If you are injured, you can use it now. Such a moving smile is like a dream. Focus. Tsunade slammed the podium, folded his arms around his chest. The class is not for you to look around. Sure enough, just hit the illusion. The students in the classroom all expressed the same emotion. Haruki smiled and shook his head. Well, he likes the way Tsunade is fierce to others and gentle to himself. Yi Naiu sighed quietly. Although he had no plans to fall in love, he was stuffed with a large bite of dog food inexplicably. So angry. What are you talking about? Tsunade finished the lecture. She first glanced at the delicate and beautiful Yi Nao. Her eyelashes moved slightly, then she stepped forward and took Haruki's right hand. When talking about your lectures, you were very serious, like a teacher. Am I usually not serious? Tsunade glared at him, his eyes full of danger. It's okay. Haruki shrugged, lowered his head a little, and said in her ear, but I like your manners. Ahem. 2 adults, I'm leaving now. Yi Naiu retired quickly. No matter how quietly I speak, I'm also a ninja anyhow, I can hear you. Damn it too. It's great to fall in love. Poor mouth, it's time to fight. Tsunade's face was reddened, and his index finger stretched out and flicked Haruki's forehead. Wow, you guy, I came to you when I got to Konoha, did you treat me like this? Haruki's mouth twitched, showing a very aggrieved expression. Who made you talk nonsense? How can I talk nonsense? This is the truth. Say it again. Tsunade's complexion froze, as if thinking of something, and angrily said, it wasn't you who did it. What, can you blame me for this? Haruki defended. Don't blame me. Tsunade stopped and stared at him, as if dare to talk nonsense in the next second is the iron fist of love. Blame you for being too cute. When Tsunade heard the words, his heart was shocked, his eyes could no longer be fierce, and he turned away. HMPH, you finally said something human in this mouth. Hey, it's too much. Haruki released her hand, put it on her shoulder, and pulled it slightly into her arms. He breathed into Tsunade's pretty earlobes. I will punish you tonight. Tsunade's body stiffened suddenly, and his ears slowly became flushed. After a few seconds, he reacted, and quickly broke free from his embrace, speeding forward. Haruki chuckled silently. After dinner, Tsunade. Haruki lay on the sofa, yelling Tsunade's name. Tsunade was preparing for a lesson. Hearing his voice, he walked into the living room and saw him lazily. He had a headache. If you were idle, help me think about what to say tomorrow. Sure. Haruki closed his eyes and stretched out his hand, but you have to finish your punishment. Tsunade raised his brow. She originally thought that the punishment she said during the day was his casual molesting, but she didn't expect to actually dare to implement it. What punishment? Tsunade ignored his raised hand, his tone calm. Haruki didn't seem to notice the danger coming. You come here first. He beckoned. Tsunade walked straight to him. I just ate too much, you massage my belly. Haruki grabbed her hand and said solemnly, if you don't want to, I can massage you. Not waiting for Tsunade to answer, her hand was taken to a very warm place. You, strong as Tsunade is also a little shy at the moment. There is no effect through clothes. Haruki looked serious. Tsunade, you are also a top medical ninja. You should understand this. Tsunade gave him a blank look. If it weren't for your arbitrarily moving hands, I would have believed your nonsense. She gently stroked Haruki's belly. On the contrary, the atmosphere is not too peachy. Tsunade, do you want to stop going down a little bit? Here? Tsunade didn't doubt that he was there, and moved his right hand slightly by half an inch. You can go further down. Tsunade suddenly smiled, and she withdrew her hand, then pinched Haruki's cheek. That, Haruki stiffened, crying, I'm just joking, really. Really? Tsunade leaned forward and smiled coldly, do you think I will believe you? You take your hand away first, I can explain it. Haruki is very eager to survive, and patted her ruthless iron hand. Tsunade raised her brows and let go. I'll see what you have. Suddenly short of breath. The soft touch spread in her mouth. The death forest outside Konoha village. Haruki was standing by the stream. A stream of water flows into the balloon in his hand as if consciously, and it fills up quickly. Rasengan, to put it simply, is to concentrate its own chakra on the palm of the hand, flow in a random direction of rotation, and compress it, and finally form a non-attribute chakra ball. Haruki threw the water ball to Namikaze Minato. In the first stage, let your chakra move irregularly in the water polo until the water polo breaks. Okay, teacher. Namikaze Minato held the water ball, holding his breath, chakra slowly injected into the ball under his control. Under the slight light, the liquid began to spin violently. Haruki nodded. Apart from the blood, Namikaze Minato's talent is self-evident. It is also considered the top batch in the entire Hokage world. Compared to Uzumaki Naruto in the original book, Namikaze Minato can do it all the same after listening to it. He estimated that this stage would pass soon. Haruki watched Namikaze Minato's practice while thinking about the next plan. His current main career is to teach. After all, it is a medical ninja. Rarely assigned to dangerous tasks. In comparison, most of them are engaged in logistics. Teaching at ninja school is much more interesting than at Konoha Hospital. It's a sense of accomplishment to change the thinking of these little guys a little bit. But Haruki will naturally not be satisfied with this. Education is a long work. Not a decade, there is no visible effect. What's more, no matter how perfect education is, there are fish that slip through the net. Haruki thought of Orochimaru. His next plan depends entirely on Orochimaru's research. 3 years ago, after he met Orochimaru, he intentionally or unintentionally revealed the knowledge of high school biology, which finally aroused his interest. After a friendly exchange, he and Orochimaru reached a consensus. He provided Orochimaru with funds, knowledge, and various research ideas. And Orochimaru worked for him. Of course, Orochimaru would never think that the topics such as longevity, curse seal, and cloning that Haruki said were all his original things. But he is not at a loss. Although Orochimaru in the original work as a scientist, the road is quite sideways. With Haruki's guidance, the object of his research now becomes the essence of chakra. As he said to Orochimaru, in theory, it is impossible to learn all ninjutsu. But if you have mastered the essence of chakra, how it is formed, what constitutes it, why there is nature transformation, and why there is spiritual energy and physical energy, you can fundamentally understand all ninjutsu, master any the ninjutsu, even the so-called blood inheritance boundary may be understood. An unprecedented angle made Orochimaru amazed. He plunged into the embrace of science. As for Hokage, Orochimaru stated, Hokage? What is Hokage? It will only affect the speed of my research. I don't know what happened to Caged Bird's research. Haruki hasn't been to Orochimaru for a while, so it's not clear how his progress is for the time being. Minato, don't be lazy. He suddenly turned his head to look at Namikaze Minato, who was panting. Old teacher, I can't do it anymore. Namikaze Minato has no image sitting on the ground. Although he is more talented than his son Uzumaki Naruto, he does not have 9 tails, and chakra is much less in comparison. How can a man say no? Here you are. Haruki threw a paper box over, and then made a seal with one hand. The light green chakra fell on Namikaze Minato's body, and the fatigue disappeared. Bingliang pills? Namikaze Minato opened the box and recognized the pills inside. He ate one, and chakra immediately filled his body. Haruki glanced at him, and seeing that he had returned to his full of fighting spirit, he continued to think about Caged Bird. He asked Orochimaru to study Caged Bird. It's not about lifting, but a slight adjustment. The original role of Caged Bird was to prevent the outflow of Byakugan, but over time, it became a means for the Hyuga clan to control the branch house. What Orochimaru wants to change is the control of Caged Bird. From other control to self-control. No matter how harmonious it is on the surface, it is impossible to really be close to each other as brothers. The most typical is Hyuga Neji, this sad genius. The reason why Haruki worked hard was because he liked Byakugan's ability. Although it is too difficult to promote Tenseigan, in his opinion, Byakugan is more strategic than Sharingan. The supporting ability is extremely strong. Whether used in battlefields or medical treatment, the value is far greater than Sharingan. After Haruki decided to transform Konoha, Byakugan was targeted by him. In addition to being used for reconnaissance, his 2 initial thoughts are, one is to form a special long-range arms. Isn't Byakugan more useful than an 8-fold mirror? The second is for medical treatment. Byakugan is equivalent to X-rays anytime and anywhere. As for the gentle fist of Hyuga's family, the close combat is not bad, but in the later period of Hokage, each of them drove up and played turrets. It was Impure World Reincarnation and 100,000 White Zetsu. How many Gentle Fist can fight? Do you think it is Master Yi, who can hit 10? While thinking, Haruki raised his hand to give Namikaze Minato a chakra, which relieved his fatigue. Namikaze Minato twitched his mouth. Although the body is not tired, chakra is also supplemented by Bingliang pills, but the spirit is really unable to withstand it. He can feel the taste of social animals. The feeling that there is no repair in 7 days a week. What's wrong? Minato. No, it's okay. Why do you feel that the teacher is a bit black? No, it must be my illusion. The teacher is also for my own good. Namikaze Minato secretly cheered himself up and started training again. For a whole day, he practiced dizzy. But every time I get tired, Haruki's medical ninjutsu is always ushered in. I made it. At dusk, Namikaze Minado's cheers suddenly sounded. But then he fell into malaise. His spirit is too tired. Come here today. Go back and have a good rest. Thank you, teacher. Namikaze Minato said weakly. By the way, there is something to tell you. You have to be mentally prepared. As if thinking of something, Haruki patted his forehead and smiled. Namikaze Minato trembled when he heard the words. With a bad feeling, Hizan Genwei asked. Teacher, what are you talking about? You know, the essence of medical ninjutsu is to accelerate the division of cells, but this will damage lifespan. So the previous medical ninjutsu consumed my life? Namikaze Minato didn't know what to think for a while. This teacher really has a black belly, right? No, how could I do such a thing? Namikaze Minato's eyes widened and he felt a little ashamed. I am too villainous. It is absolutely impossible for a person like a teacher to be disadvantageous to the students. So I used some methods to confuse your body and delay the fatigue. If you wake up tomorrow, you will have any adverse reactions, it is normal. Namikaze Minato was stunned. When he recovered, Haruki had disappeared. With a fluke that shouldn't be troublesome, Namikaze Minato went to sleep. Then the next day, it almost soared on the spot. The whole body doesn't seem to belong to him. Fatigue, numbness, pain, etc. are mixed. Namikaze Minato leaned on the wall and entered the classroom. He used great perseverance to get up from the bed, but the instinctive reaction of the body did not completely fade. Still soft and pale. What did you do? Uzumaki Kushina noticed his abnormal appearance and asked with a look of doubt, did you sleep last night? Namikaze Minato heard the words and looked up at Uzumaki Kushina in surprise. Is this caring about me? Did my performance finally touch her? It's overtraining. Namikaze Minato waved his hand pretending to be indifferent, but the corner of his eye kept looking at Uzumaki Kushina. Hey, I worked so hard, did I find my strengths? Sure enough. Uzumaki Kushina showed dissatisfaction on her small face. Yesterday, Haruki-sensei didn't come. Did you cook a small stove? Really? I knew the teacher first. Why didn't you teach me? Gone. Haruki-sensei is indeed my life's enemy. Namikaze Minato was speechless for a while. Fortunately, he thought that Uzumaki Kushina had a chance. He didn't expect to be passionate about himself. Uncomfortable. It's so hard to like someone. But Namikaze Minato felt that he could be rescued, and was about to speak, but saw Uzumaki Kushina arrived at the seat without looking back. Did not even say goodbye. He can only withdraw his grief and anger, rubbing his sore waist, waiting for class. Namikaze Minato is nearing graduation, and she is diligent and has already mastered all courses. The reason why I appeared in the classroom is because the first session of today is the history class taught by Haruki. He dared not skip class. Haruki appeared on the podium with the textbook. Seeing Namikaze Minato, I was a little surprised. With his eyes, he can naturally see his state. Unexpectedly, this guy really loves learning. Today I will continue to talk about the deeds of Senju Hashirama, Lord First Hokage. Last time I said he decided to join forces with Uchiha Madara of the Uchiha family to build an unprecedented ninja. Haruki knocked on the blackboard and started this week's class. He is more relaxed than Tsunade. The medical class started from scratch, and there are too many places to be improved. And Jonin-level medical ninjas are too rare. So much so that Tsunade had to do it himself. Haruki planned to wait for the ninja from the Oshima Chamber of Commerce to arrive at Konoha before freeing her hands to attend the medical class to ease her burden. The end of a class. Haruki called Namikaze Minato away, preparing for the next stage of Rasengan. But I didn't expect Uzumaki Kushina to follow. Do you want to learn too? Hearing her request, Haruki was a little surprised. Although he doesn't mind teaching Uzumaki Kushina, she does not need to learn Rasengan. Because as the Uzumaki clan, she has a powerful sealing technique. Even Nine Tails is helpless. To be honest, Haruki was greedy about this. He doesn't know the unique sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan. So the teacher who really suits Uzumaki Kushina should be Uzumaki Mito, not him. And Haruki knew that she did not have the talent for learning medical ninjutsu, the yang attribute chakra. Well, teacher, you can't be partial. Uzumaki Kushina pouted, seemingly aggrieved. Haruki thought for a while, and I have to say that she is also very suitable for learning Rasengan. The Uzumaki clan is born with a large amount of chakra, and it is a pity not to use it to rub balls. Thinking of the future Namikaze Minato's family of 3 each with Rasengan, this picture, Tusk. Yes. Haruki nodded. Yeah. Uzumaki Kushina jumped up excitedly. Came to the same place. Haruki took out the unused balloon and threw it to Namikaze Minato. Your mission. Okay. Namikaze Minato started blowing up a balloon to fill water. And Haruki told Uzumaki Kushina according to what he said yesterday. Give you. Namikaze Minato handed a water polo in time. Thanks. Uzumaki Kushina glanced at this happy boy for some reason, and said thank you. Come here, Minato, if you are too close, it will affect each other's cultivation. Haruki waved to him at a distance of 7 or 8 meters. The second stage of practice is the same as the first stage, but it is replaced by a ball with air inside. It is not easy to use chakra to turn it to explode it. I will work hard. Namikaze Minato is full of energy and can't see any morning listlessness at all. Kushina can see the situation clearly and wants to change your image. This is a great opportunity. Haruki smiled and threw the balloon to him. No longer paying attention to Namikaze Minato, who seemed to have been beaten with blood, he turned his gaze to Uzumaki Kushina. In terms of talent, she is not as good as Namikaze Minato, but she is not bad either. Time flies. Haruki tried his best to give directions while buffing Namikaze Minato. Namikaze Minato's face was scared, but he gritted his teeth and accepted it, which made him feel amused. Well, a 10-year-old boy. I don't want to lose face in front of the girl I like. As expected of the Uzumaki clan, after giving Namikaze Minato a 3-shot medical forbearance, Uzumaki Kushina's chakra was finally exhausted. Kushina, take a break. Seeing the sweat on her little face, Haruki couldn't help but say. Namikaze Minato did not rest, nor did I rest. Uzumaki Kushina looked at him. Teacher, I want to. She noticed Haruki's actions while practicing. You have to think carefully, tomorrow will be very painful. It's okay, I can bear it. Haruki smiled. These two guys are exactly the same in some respects. But he did not refuse, and casually wrapped Uzumaki Kushina with a light green chakra, dispelling her fatigue. After giving her the Bingliang pill again, she heard Namikaze Minato's call. Teacher, this. Here. Come soon. Haruki's body flicker technique appeared in front of the paralyzed Namikaze Minato. He pointed to Uzumaki Kushina, and smiled. Do you know what the Uzumaki clan has? The sudden question left Namikaze Minato for a moment. A lot of chakra? It's physical strength. What? Exercise well, you can't be so empty. Haruki blinked at him and relieved him of fatigue. Namikaze Minato looked at Haruki subconsciously. But seeing him look serious, the teasing that just appeared seemed to be an illusion. Is it because I want to be crooked? Namikaze Minato is a little skeptical of life. He looked at Haruki again. Minato, don't be lazy. Oh. Namikaze Minato hesitated to relaunch the offensive against the ball in hand. The sun gradually went down. Haruki patted his palms. Today's training ends here. Uzumaki Kushina and Namikaze Minato immediately stopped their movements. Teacher treats, go eat ramen. Haruki touched his chin and added, it's a celebration of the formation of our team. Uzumaki Kushina smiled suddenly. She likes to eat ramen. Teacher, is there still one person missing? When Namikaze Minato waited for the ramen table, he suddenly remembered this. Generally speaking, 3 students who graduated from ninja school form a team, led by a jonin. Well, the third member, you will see it soon, but he is not in the same class as you. Senior? Namikaze Minato didn't expect it, but he also knew some special cases. In addition to the same class, the 3-person team also has senior elder sisters who have graduated in recent years. The reason is simple. Ninjas are high-risk occupations. Losing teammates is very common. In order to make up the establishment, it can only be redistributed. But the ninja who can make Haruki fancy, I want to be a good player. It's the young master of the Hyuga family. Haruki smiled. Taking into account the physical condition of the two of them tomorrow, Haruki generously gave them a morning leave. Before leaving, Namikaze Minato was still curious about the situation of their teammates. As one of Konoha's strongest families, the Hyuga family owns Byakugan, who is as famous as Sharingan, and its young master, Hyuga Hiyashi, is naturally not weak. Haruki didn't say much, because he knew it was impossible. Even though he is now very prestigious and saved many ninjas of the Hyuga family during the Ninja War, it is difficult to become Hyuga Hiyashi's leading teacher. The next day, Haruki came to Orochimaru's research institute. Compared with the cold caves and underground laboratories in the past, the building of the ninja school is more like a sun. Even taking Orochimaru is pleasing to the eye a lot. Where is the one I want? Orochimaru asked straightforwardly. As the number of projects increased, he also felt that he had more than enough energy. Besides, most of the projects, in his opinion, are purely boring and time-consuming things. If there are enough manpower, he can give other people the projects that he is not interested in. We will be there in less than a week, Haruki said. If the ninjas arranged by the Oshima Chamber of Commerce flock to Konoha at once, Shimura Danzo is not stupid, and he will definitely notice something wrong. 1 week is already extremely fast. Then what are you doing? After getting his own answer, Orochimaru returned to his cold tone. After 3 years of getting along, he had known that Haruki was a silver gun and wax head, only talking on paper and completely ignorant of experiments. Caged birds matter. I saw you let Hyuga go. Is there any new progress? I'm currently studying the sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan. It won't be long before I can understand the nature of caged bird. Orochimaru's tone is sparse and ordinary, and he is the most talented among Sannin, and sealing skills can't help him. And why did Konoha have the seal technique of the Uzumaki clan? The reason is simple. After the demise of the Uzumaki clan, almost all of the remaining clan were in Konoha. Especially the first generation of Nine Tails Jinchuriki, Senju Hashirama's wife Uzumaki Chiho is still alive. In the original work, Sarutobi Hiruzen's ghoul seal also originated from the Uzumaki family. As his apprentice, Orochimaru is naturally qualified to watch. In fact, Haruki can study if he applies or depends on Tsunade. But his talent for ninjutsu was average, and it took too long for the master. It's better to rely on the affection system. In addition, he currently doesn't use the seal technique for the time being. Wait for system rewards for white prostitution. Isn't it fragrant? As for the relationship between caged bird and seal art, it can be regarded as a kind of sealing technique, and the sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan is the best in the ninja world, and it has its own meaning for reference. All in all, Orochimaru's performance did not disappoint him. Do you want to rely on caged bird to make Hyuga branch house fall to you? I advise you not to be so naive. It is better to use caged bird to control branch house. It is not difficult for you or me. Orochimaru always felt that Haruki was too indecisive. It should be said that gentle measures have to be taken for a certain purpose. It is naturally effective in the short term. Haruki nodded in agreement, but what I want is not slaves. Caged bird protects them and restricts them. Compared with Uchiha, where top ninjas are constantly appearing, Hyuga's family is like a dead old man. The family is greedy for life and fear of death, and the branch house is stagnant. Can there be a strong one? Orochimaru is noncommittal. He didn't want to understand Haruki's behavior and didn't care about it. Said this, just worried that Haruki overturned his research plan. Hyuga is one of Konoha's big family anyway, and once Sarutobi Hiruzen or Shimura Danzo notices it, they will definitely intervene. I will trouble you to play a play with me then. What Orochimaru can think of, Haruki can naturally think of it. According to his plan, there is no need for him to do it himself. It depends on whether Hyuga Hiyashi will disappoint him. Orochimaru frowned, a little unhappy. His time is very valuable, and he doesn't want to waste it in Haruki's boring things. Haruki saw his unabashed expression, and as one of the people who knew him best, he knew what he was thinking. He smiled and said, "It won't take you too much time." Orochimaru glanced at him, not fully believing what he said. "Hope so. I'm leaving now, Orochimaru-kun, come on and keep going." Haruki waved his hand and disappeared into the laboratory. Orochimaru licked the corner of his mouth, retracted his gaze, and then turned to study. Master Haruki. Anbu wearing an animal mask appeared in front of Haruki. Master Hokage called Jonin for a meeting. Please come to Hokage Pavilion. I see. Haruki performed the body flicker technique and arrived at Hokage's office in a moment. Many Jonin have gathered here. He was a little curious. Tsunade, do you know anything? Haruki stretched out his hand, but was glared by Tsunade. In front of the teacher, be more serious. Isn't it serious for lovers to hold hands? Haruki retracted his paw aggrievedly. I'm not talking about this. Tsunade suddenly showed helplessness. Master Hokage. The sound of all sounds rang out. Haruki finished flirting with Tsunade and his face became serious. I just received a message that Tsunagakure has sent another batch of ninjas. The preliminary estimate is that the number is close to 1,000. After third Hokage Sarutobi Hiruzen finished speaking, the ninja who participated in the meeting suddenly showed a surprised look. There are not many regular ninjas in the 5 ninja villages. Konoha is worthy of the name, but it will not exceed 20,000. And the Baron Tsunagakure is even less. Does Tsunagakure want to fight us again? It was Konoha's consultant, Udatane Kaharu. According to the information discovered, it is because Tsunagakure has disappeared several Jonin and Chunin near the Aso Mountains. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at everyone, but I didn't receive the report. I wonder if you guys have any eyebrows. Everyone, Jonin, look at me, I look at you, no one answers. And Haruki's face was calm, nothing unusual. It doesn't look like Konoha did it. Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression is still dignified. Konoha village and Tsunagakure have not stopped fighting. These people have died in the territory of the country of fire. This scapegoat is afraid to be real. He looked at Shimura Danzo subconsciously. It's not me. Seeing his skepticism, Shimura Danzo said with dissatisfaction, when things have developed to this point, it doesn't matter who it is. Why should we? Konoha explained to Tsunade. Oh, you're right, but now we don't have enough ninjas, and we have to prevent Rain Shinobi Village and Iwagakure from taking advantage of the fire. I really don't want to start another big battle. Sarutobi Hiruzen sighed. Let the two-term students of ninja school graduate early. Shimura Danzo frowned slightly, and made him a villain again. Currently there is only this way. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought for a moment, then nodded helplessly. He stood up, his face was heavy, his eyes swept, and he finally stayed on Oki Takahiro's face. Oki Takahiro, organize students to complete the graduation examination within 2 days, submit the name list after graduation in time, and I and the advisory team will assign the leading teachers. Yes, Master Hokage. Takahiro Oki replied immediately. If you have a student you like, you can also apply, and I will consider it as appropriate. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought for a while and added. After the meeting, Haruki and Tsunade left Hokage Pavilion together. Orochimaru did not come. His student, Nawaki, died soon, and he should be reluctant to lead the team as Jonin. In Tsunade's words, Shizune and Haruno Sakura are her apprentices in the original book. But currently Shizune is too young and Haruno Sakura was not born. It is extremely rare for medical ninjas to lead the team. Tsunade is already a special case. Haruki, I think you like the two little guys Minato and Kushina very much. You should lead the team? Well, it's not surprising that it was the two of them. The two-person team doesn't conform to the rules. I already have a candidate for the third player. As a clan family, Hyuga Hiyashi does not go out. His target is actually one of the Uchiha clan. Sarutobi Hiruzen's order was quickly issued by Takahiro Oki. The ninja school suddenly became lively. As one of the teachers, Haruki also got his own task. Graduation assessment will be conducted on the 6th grade A class. The content of the assessment is very simple, the basic 3-body technique, namely transformation technique, body replacement technique, clone technique, any two of them can meet the standard. In theory, it's just a formality. After all, under normal circumstances, there is no guy who has been learning for 6 years, and even the E-level 3 body technique can't learn it. Haruki arrived at the examination room on time. Most students seem very relaxed. Presumably you already know something, I won't say anything, starting from the first row. After Haruki finished speaking, the first student walked up to him, bowed slightly, and began to seal with both hands. Along with the flow of chakra, an identical clone appeared on his left side. After waiting a few seconds, he withdrew the clone, leaving a wooden stake in place. Congratulations on your successful graduation. Haruki put on Konoha's forehead protector for him. Thank you, teacher. Although it was expected, the student was obviously very excited, his face flushed with excitement. After he left, the second student got up. After Haruki repeated it 27 times, the entire class graduated successfully. The result assigned by the leading teacher will have to wait until the day after tomorrow. Teacher, I will be with Kushina, right? I said Minato. Why don't you first care if your leader is my problem? Namikaze Minato was dumbfounded. Tisk, as expected, the teacher is not the most important thing. Haruki pretended to sigh and shook his head. No. Namikaze Minato explained hurriedly, I will definitely refuse other teachers. Oh? The leader of the team was assigned by Lord Hokage, why do you refuse? This. Namikaze Minato hesitated and didn't know what to say. If it was Master Hokage's order, he couldn't do anything. Haruki smiled suddenly. It seems that his training plan is going well. Relax, you and Kushina are a group, not only that, but there is another little beauty. Eh? Namikaze Minato raised his head and asked for a while, teacher, the young master of the Hyuga family seems to be a man. What? Are you looking forward to a male teammate more? No, it's not. Namikaze Minato said subconsciously. Tisk. I have to tell Kushina about this. Haruki's mouth curled up and said playfully. No, teacher, I didn't mean that. Namikaze Minato was confused by his melaleuca. Then what do you mean? Do you want a male teammate or a female teammate? Man. Ha. Haruki couldn't help laughing. Namikaze Minato looked depressed, but I dare not refute anything. Really angry. I will give you a task today, Haruki said, rubbing his blonde hair. What? Namikaze Minato endured his ravages, not in high spirits. I have something to do later, I can't accompany you to practice. Your progress is higher than Kushina, so please be her teacher temporarily. Really? Really? Namikaze Minato's eyes widened. You are not willing. I am willing. Thank you, teacher. Namikaze Minato's emotions were suddenly high, and he couldn't wait to rush to the Death Forest to start training Uzumaki Kushina. It's nice to be young. Seeing his appearance, Haruki couldn't help feeling a little. The love in school days and the love in society after entering the society are definitely two different things. At this time, they have nothing to do with interests, only likes. I go first. After Haruki finished speaking, he disappeared into the air. Came to Orochimaru's research institute again. Give you. Orochimaru handed him a scroll. Thanks. Haruki read the content again, but didn't put it away. Putting the scroll on the bookshelf in the corner, he thought for a while and directly wrote the 3 words caged bird on the surface. Nagata Teru, you bring this letter to Chief Hyuga. Haruki called a confidant, and then whispered to Orochimaru. Although he was a little impatient, he still agreed. The sunny tree disappeared. An hour later, there was a knock on the door. Hyuga Hiyashi met Orochimaru-sama. Where is Haruki-sama? He has something. You were waiting here for a while. Okay. Hyuga Hiyashi was polite. Orochimaru glanced at him, and said nothing. Turned and walked towards the laboratory, but stopped in front of the door. Everything in my place is confidential, don't read it casually. Master Orochimaru, I will definitely not watch it. Hyuga Hiyashi shuddered after hearing his warning. After Orochimaru left, he relaxed. It's worthy of being one of the battle-tested Sanins. To be honest, Hyuga Hiyashi is still a little envious. Because of Byakugan, as the clan, he has never left Konoha. But he was unable to change the rules of the Hyuga family. Hyuga Hiyashi sighed. His dear brother became particularly indifferent because of the inscription caged bird. No longer the joy of childhood. Hyuga Hiyashi condensed his eyes and looked at the bookshelf in the corner. The 3 characters caged bird are like stars in the dark night, unusually dazzling. How could the scroll of caged bird appear in Orochimaru's research institute? He thought of what Orochimaru said before he left. Everything here is confidential. Hyuga Hiyashi is like a curious cat, itchy in his heart. The secret that Sanin said in the legend also involves caged bird. What exactly is it? Hesitate, he struggled inside. After a while, he turned on Byakugan. Not far away is an extremely large and gloomy chakra, which should be Orochimaru. In the surroundings, there are many people, but chakra is average. Hyuga Hiyashi's complexion changed again and finally took a step. Take out the scroll quickly and open it. His eyes swept across. The whole person is stiff in place. As the young master of the Hyuga family, he knows caged bird very well. A curse that you can't get rid of until death. But the scroll in front of him decomposes caged bird fundamentally. If he hadn't understood the stubbornness of the elders, he would have thought that there was a traitor in the clan. Is it Orochimaru? I have long heard that Orochimaru has strong research capabilities. But the only thing that puzzled him was why Orochimaru didn't completely crack caged bird, but only changed the control. Hyuga Hiyashi was nervous and breathed a little. If there is this scroll, the riot in the branch house can be imagined. At this moment, a chakra no less than Orochimaru came out of the door. Hyuga Hiyashi stuffed the scroll into his arms like a frightened bird, put Byakugan away, and looked at Haruki, who opened the door. It's Hiyashi, did you see the letter I wrote? Master Haruki. Hyuga Hiyashi tried to stay calm. Thank you very much for the love of adults. Hiyashi, as the Hyuga clan, although he has no teammates, he has graduated for a long time. In terms of strength, he does not need to lead Jonin. So sorry, I can't become an adult student. That's a pity. Haruki's face showed a look of helplessness at the right time. If the adults are willing, all of my Hyuga family can become an adult student. I'll think about it. Trouble. Hiyashi ran away for nothing. No trouble, adults are kind to my Hyuga family, I should take a trip. After Hyuga Hiyashi left, Orochimaru reappeared. What do you think he would do? I don't know. Haruki shook his head. Although in the original work, Hyuga Hiyashi eventually changed caged bird system, it was largely due to his Hokage son-in-law. In fact, I wanted to ask you a long time ago, why not just cancel caged bird? It's a lot of trouble. Do you really want to protect Byakugan from leaking out? No, I have heard a rumor that if someone can unlock caged bird by themselves, his Byakugan can evolve. Evolve? Can Byakugan evolve? Orochimaru looked at him in surprise. Otherwise, you think that Byakugan and Sharingan are the same names, they are from Hyuga's family? Interesting. Orochimaru looked out the door, his gaze seemed to fall on Hyuga Hiyashi. Hokage's office. Sarutobi Hiruzen bit his pipe. His eyes rested on Haruki's application for leading the team. Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina were in his expectation. Ninja school is one of the focus of Anbu monitoring. Since Haruki became the vice principal, he has been concerned. Haruki brought many unexpected surprises. Whether it is inheriting the will of fire, or telling the story of Hokage through the ages, they are all excellent. To his satisfaction, Haruki compared him with the previous 2 generations of Hokage during the lecture. Although known as the strongest Hokage, he knows himself. Not to mention Senju Hashirama, even his teacher, Senju Tobirama, is far inferior. This kid has a problem. Sarutobi Hiruzen took a pipe. Namikaze Minato is a civilian, although it is the first in the class, it is nothing. Uzumaki Kushina is a little more troublesome. Because she is a candidate for 9 Tails Jinchuriki. At present, only a few people know this news, and I have to say that the Uzumaki clan is really suitable to become Jinchuriki. It can be seen from Uzumaki Mito. There has never been a problem for so many years. As a powerful weapon to shock the ninja world, Jinchuriki must be stable and used by Konoha. Uzumaki Kushina's orphan status is even more icing on the cake. As long as Konoha treats her a little better, she is not afraid of her giving up. Sarutobi Hiruzen thought for a moment. According to this theory, perhaps it is not a bad thing for her to become Haruki's apprentice. Haruki, he believed it. Judging from the current performance, Haruki has thoroughly understood the will of fire and is willing to contribute to Konoha. And he is Tsunade's boyfriend. It is basically impossible to betray Konoha. In fact, it was the 3rd student that Haruki chose the most that entangled him. Uchiha Makoto. How did he think of being involved with Uchiha? Sarutobi Hiruzen and Shimura Danzo have been implementing the strategy of their teacher Senju Tobirama. Divide and suppress the Uchiha tribe. Haruki has been marked by him as the Hokage line. He should not associate with Uchiha. Hokage-sama, Uchiha Makoto's profile, and Anbu appeared. Sarutobi Hiruzen picked up the document and looked at it. He has no impression of Uchiha Makoto. Now that I understand, I am a normal Uchiha clan, and I haven't even opened Sharingan. It seems to have no effect. Sarutobi Hiruzen was silent for a while. He kept suppressing the Uchiha clan secretly, but he hadn't reached the point of being a clear sign. Since she is not a genius, let her go. He picked up the pen, ticked, and agreed to Haruki's application. La la la, Uzumaki Kushina hummed an unknown tune. She hasn't been so happy for a long time since the death of the Uzumaki clan. Thinking of Haruki-sensei, Uzumaki Kushina is full of expectations for the future ninja career. In fact, she has always had an embarrassing thought in her heart. Because she experienced wars when she was young, she very much hoped for a peaceful and stable life. The appearance of Haruki perfectly fulfilled her wish. I don't know since when, she felt Haruki resembled her mother. Gentle and good-looking. Kushina. What? Uzumaki Kushina straightened his face and snorted. When Namikaze Minato saw this, his mood was a little complicated. Uzumaki Kushina always looks at him through tinted glasses. It made him wonder if he did something to apologize to her. From today we are teammates, please advise. Uzumaki Kushina suddenly thought of Rasengan, who Namikaze Minato tried his best to teach him yesterday, and his tone softened slightly. Please work hard. Namikaze Minato nodded vigorously. The two came to the location that Haruki informed last night. The 3rd exercise field. Teacher. Uzumaki Kushina saw Haruki from a distance and greeted excitedly. Namikaze Minato felt sour, very envious. I don't know when I will be treated like Mr. Haruki. Teacher. Namikaze Minato bowed slightly and looked around, but did not find the 2nd person. Teacher, where are our teammates? No hurry, I'll be there soon. Haruki smiled and asked, Minato, can't wait to see the little beauty? I am not. Teacher, don't talk nonsense. Namikaze Minato quickly glanced at Uzumaki Kushina in fright. But to his disappointment, she did not respond. Haruki stopped teasing him, turning his head to look at the other side of the forest. She is coming. Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kushina heard the words and looked in the direction. Makoto? Uzumaki Kushina blurted out in surprise. The beautiful girl with black hair and black eyes who came by was just a few of Konoha's only friends. Uchiha Makoto. Kushina. Uchiha Makoto's eyes shimmered slightly, but his reaction was not as intense as Uzumaki Kushina's, and he appeared extremely calm. To be honest, she was surprised when she learned that she had been selected as a student by Haruki. She is a few years older than Uzumaki Kushina. Because of her average talent, she returned to the family directly after graduation. If nothing happens, it will be reduced to a tool to maintain the blood. In fact, it is exactly the same. Within 2 years, she might marry Uchiha Fugaku, the heir to the patriarch. Uchiha Makoto looked at Haruki. The first impression is handsome. She had heard Haruki's name early on. In the Second Ninja World War, she became famous with Princess Tsunade and became her boyfriend. The most amazing thing is that even the Uchiha people don't hate him much. It is quite rare that those proud tribes do not hate a person. Or it is for this reason that she can get the consent of her parents and become his student. Dang dang. Haruki took out 2 bells and shook them. According to the usual practice, the teacher will take a small test for the 3 of you. It's very simple, you will pass if you grab the bell. Teacher, did you miss a bell? Uzumaki Kashina asked. Kashina, the teacher is testing our tacit understanding. Namikaze Minato replied in front of Haruki. The corner of Haruki's mouth was slightly raised. Really smart. But boy, your path is narrow. What about your high emotional intelligence? Sure enough, being in love makes people stupid. And Uzumaki Kashina did not accept his love. I'm asking the teacher. Namikaze Minato's complexion stiffened and was quite injured. Uchiha Makoto next to him showed a faint smile, and she could see the situation of the two at a glance. Well, that's the end of the chat. Haruki shook the bell again, and then pinned it to his waist. I only used Chunin's strength, so I look forward to your performance. The moment the voice fell, the 3 of them disappeared in front of him. No one actually attacked recklessly. Gee. Sure enough, a ninja with a personality like Uzumaki Naruto is the problem. Haruki thought for a while. Instead of standing still, he walked towards the forest. In order to be fair, he did not develop perception. In other words, he did not know the location of the 3. Of course, if you attack you can see it naturally. Call out. Strange wind. Haruki looked up and saw several shurikens fall. Haruki took a step back extremely vigorously. Shuriken thrust into the soft ground in front of them. He turned his head slightly, the leaves were flying, and the huge wind pressure rushed towards him. Sea-level wind style great breakthrough. Of the 3, Namikaze Minato and Uzumaki Kashina both have chakra with wind attributes. Haruki makes a seal with one hand. The same great breakthrough. The wind and waves crashed together. The leaves are forced to leave the branches, like blizzard all over the space in front of you. At this moment, a scorching air wave rose. Haruki turned his eyes and saw Uchiha Makoto vaguely. A great fireball was blown out of her little mouth. It is the fire-style great fireball technique passed down by Uchiha's ancestors. After meeting the leaves, the fire rose sharply. The sea-level ninjutsu has even faintly approached the B-level. The fire takes advantage of the wind, a good cooperation. Haruki couldn't help but praise. Of course, he was merciless in his hand. An identical great fireball spouted from his mouth. Suddenly, the fiery red light filled the sight. Amidst the chaotic noise, Haruki's ears suddenly heard a deep cyclone. He glanced slightly and saw Namikaze Minato rubbing balls and hitting his kidneys. Gee. This evildoer. Minato, I didn't teach you Rasengan like this. Haruki knew at a glance that this Rasengan was a semi-finished product. He turned sideways at will. Namikaze Minato leaned forward, and Rasengan suddenly lost the maintenance of chakra, as the frustrated ball suddenly dried up. Teacher, you are fooled. The sound rang. The figure in front of him suddenly exploded. Doppelganger plus detonation talisman. Ching Shu frowned, and then pressed it to the ground. Earth-style Earthshore return. A large stone slab rose suddenly, blocking the explosion. But the aftermath made him take a step back. Haruki looked down. His feet were entangled in golden chains. Sealing technique? With a kick on his feet, chakra broke the chain suddenly. A burst of smoke rose. I don't know who threw a smoke bomb. Immediately poured into pieces of fireballs. Uchiha's fire-style Phoenix fire technique. Haruki took the same picture and shot a fireball with Uchiha Makoto. Dang Dang's voice sounded. The bell was shaken. A small sinful hand appeared on his waist. Body flicker technique. Namikaze Minato's figure appeared. He has grabbed the bell. It's not that easy. Haruki maintained the Phoenix fire technique with one hand, and grabbed Namikaze Minato's collar with the other hand. Teacher, be careful. At the same moment, on top of his head, Uzumaki Kashina took Rasengan down. If Haruki does not evade, even if he catches Namikaze Minato, he will be attacked by Rasengan. He smiled. At this point, there is no need to test again. The cooperation of the 3 made him a little surprised. How to say? It's not a tacit understanding, but the kind of battle with high emotional intelligence. Namikaze Minato can become a Hokage with Flying Thunder God technique, and he is truly a talented person. In terms of hard power, he is not the strongest, but he plays very smart. Haruki changed hands and broke up Rasengan of Uzumaki Kushina. She progressed later than Namikaze Minato, which is also a semi-finished ninjutsu. The power is far from a grade. Namikaze Minato took this opportunity to get the bell smoothly. We won. Uzumaki Kushina let out a cheer when he saw it. She fell to the ground and hammered Namikaze Minato's shoulder. Good job. Namikaze Minato's eyes widened, looking at her in surprise. As long as the three of you don't meet Jonin, you should be able to cope. If you learn Rasengan, Jonin also has a certain chance. Haruki blew away the smoke and evaluated their performance. Of course, the Jonin he said was an ordinary Jonin, not a Jonin like Konoha's White Fangya Hitaki Shumo and Might Guy who almost kicked the finale. When Namikaze Minato heard the words, the three of them suddenly showed surprise expressions. There is no doubt. For the three genin, this is the highest praise. Teacher, shall we go to the war next? Namikaze Minato asked. Not urgent. Haruki shook his head, the war will not end in a short time. You can learn Rasengan for me first. In addition, he has to watch Hyuga Hiyoshi's performance. Okay. Although Namikaze Minato wanted to prove himself by making contributions earlier, he still listened to Haruki's words. As for Uzumaki Kushina and Uchiha Makoto, let alone. Haruki thought for a moment, and summoning pulled out the storage scroll. Minato, this one is for you. This is Flying Thunder God Second Stage? Namikaze Minato read the words on the scroll clearly and immediately looked up in surprise. Well. You have a rare talent, suitable for learning Flying Thunder God Second Stage, but you can only practice after you learn Rasengan, Haruki reminded. Yes. Namikaze Minato suppressed his excitement. Teacher, what about me? When Uzumaki Kushina saw this, the corners of his mouth were pouted, a little unbalanced. I don't know why she always thinks Haruki value Namikaze Minato more. Greed is not bad. Let's learn the sealing technique of your Uzumaki clan first. Haruki stretched out her hand and squeezed her little face. Uzumaki Kushina sensed warmth. Cheeks flushed and nodded. Looks like a good student. Haruki smiled knowingly. In fact, he was telling the truth. The sealing technique of the Uzumaki clan is well known in the ninja world, and there is no need to learn anything. Besides, the Rasengan series is definitely enough. I didn't see Uzumaki Naruto still using Rasengan in the finale. As for Makoto, the fire style of Uchiha's family is also enough. I don't need me to teach you anything, but since you are your teacher, you can't do nothing. Tomorrow, you will come to the Ninja School Institute to find me. Okay, teacher. Uchiha Makoto replied. Well, the three of you should cultivate here, I'll be back when I go. After Haruki finished speaking, he appeared in the research institute. Since Caged Bird was cracked, Orochimaru has returned to his forbidden technique, living corpse reincarnation. But fortunately, Haruki's guidance, Orochimaru is not obsessed with finding containers in human experiments, but tries to clone. After all, containers are risky, so you need to be cautious about reincarnation. The clones of themselves are safe. Haruki thought for a while, not to trouble Orochimaru. He sent a message. Soon after, 4 people arrived. With the prestige of both him and Orochimaru, it has attracted many diehards. The 4 people in front of him are even rarer Jonin. The 4 of you Grandmaster Illusions, I need a space full of illusions. The requirements are very simple, not let Genin notice. Haruki looked at them and asked, I don't know if it can be done. Haruki-sama, did you underestimate us? With the 4 of us working together, even Jonin would be hard to find. Kawago Yuta with a national character face said with a smile. What if she belongs to the Uchiha clan? Uchiha. Kawago Yuta narrowed his eyes. If it's Genin, it should be confusing. That's fine. Haruki nodded. He was prepared for Uchiha Makoto. Sharingan needs extremely strong stimulation to open his eyes or evolve. But it is not necessary to use extreme methods such as dead friends, dead lovers, and dead families. And from the original work, the way to open the eyes is different. For example, Uchiha Sasuke only opened one Tomo Sharingan when he witnessed the destruction of the whole clan. Haruki feels that Uchiha Itachi is completely wrong. Uchiha Sasuke cares most about Uzumaki Naruto and him. Uchiha Makoto did not mention in the original work whether he has Sharingan, but the opening of Sharingan in a sense does not require talent. Anyway, if there is time, Haruki is an experiment. Haruki looked at the big screen in front of him. Shows an empty room. After a while, Kawago Yuta appeared. Master Haruki, the layout has been completed. Haruki turned his head, looked at him, and said, when Uchiha Makoto arrives, tell her to wait for me in this room. Yes. Kawago Yuta disappeared again. Haruki creates a new document on the computer. Sharingan experiment. The first group, April 13th. Subject: Uchiha Makoto. Preliminary means, illusion. Content stimulation. Family affection. Result: unknown. In the original book, Uchiha Makoto has a gentle and kind personality, and he values her husband and son in particular. The night of annihilation. He died without resistance in the hands of Uchiha Itachi and asked him to take care of his younger brother Uchiha Sasuke. She is a woman like Yamato Nadeshiko, perhaps also very helpless. She has no power to stop the fratricide. Haruki glanced at the screen. Uchiha Makoto was already waiting at the door. He got up and changed into a white dress. There are various triggers for illusions, but the most typical is the eyes. Makoto. Hearing Haruki's voice, Uchiha Makoto turned around and saw a white dress. Chuchen's temperament seems to be a banished immortal. Uchiha Makoto appeared in a trance for a moment. No wonder this guy Kushina keeps talking about marrying Haruki. Teacher. She greeted. Well, come with me. Haruki opened the door, walked into the room, and picked up a scroll on the bookshelf. Makoto, you haven't been exposed to B-level ninjutsu now, right? No, Uchiha Makoto shook his head. Although she belongs to the Uchiha clan, her talent is not high, only genin. Being able to learn C-level fire style is already an advantage for giants. The general genin can only use the three-body technique or Kuwu shuriken to shoot at each other. By normal standards, the three Haruki students can basically take the Chunin exam. I borrow flowers to offer Buddha, and teach you some B-level fire style ninjutsu from the Uchiha clan in advance. Haruki threw the scroll to her. Thank you, teacher. After the matter is explained, you will practice with Minato and Kushina for the rest. Yes. Haruki took her to the third exercise site. With the help of his Bingliang pill and medical ninjutsu, the training was completed 2 weeks later. Rushed to the border. Due to their strength, the three completed many tasks. After the war, he was successfully promoted to Chunin. However, due to his parents, Uchiha Makoto returned to the clan to marry Uchiha Fugaku. Life is good. Gave birth to Uchiha Itachi and Uchiha Sasuke. She loves her two sons very much, but the good times did not last long, and the Uchiha clan wanted a coup. After all, the tragedy happened. Uchiha Itachi, who was deeply influenced by the will of Konoha Fire, aimed the butcher knife at his clan. Uchiha Makoto dumbly listened to the screams everywhere. The spray of blood seemed to stain the moon red. Do not want. Uchiha Makoto reached out his hand subconsciously. Only the fallen Uchiha Fugaku can be touched. Itachi. He is your father. Uchiha Itachi had no expression on his face, and the short sword in his hand was thrust into the body of 6-year-old Uchiha Sasuke without mercy. A line of blood fell on him. Reflects the coldness of Uchiha Itachi. Uchiha Makoto looked desperately at her strange son. Brainwashed by Konoha. Destroy the village. But those eyes are only recorded in the classics. Mangekyo Sharingan. In front of it, she had no chance of winning, nothing could be done, no one could be saved. Tribesmen, friends, parents, husbands, sons. Die in front of her one by one. What? Uchiha Makoto screamed frantically, like a neurotic, but also like the scream of the weak. The voice jumped over the deep night. There was blood flowing from her eyes. The world seems to have become red. The three Go Jades slowly rotated. A vast and infinite force flooded Uchiha Makoto's body. Before she could think about the reason, she rushed directly to Uchiha Itachi. Uchiha Itachi hesitated for a moment, and immediately raised the knife. But in Uchiha Makoto's eyes, his movements became extremely slow. And her own speed is like lightning. The bitterness in his hand pierced his heart fiercely. Looking at Uchiha Itachi's surprised expression, she smiled happily and crazy. With a click, it was like a broken glass window. Uchiha Makoto suddenly raised his head. Familiar and unfamiliar room. Memories filled her mind a little bit. Uchiha Itachi is like a distant dream, gradually stripped of her emotions. Uchiha Makoto looked around the room, showing signs of poor quality and roughness. Illusion. She couldn't help frowning, but soon she felt tired. Especially the eyes. Turn off your Sharingan. Haruki appeared in front of her. With your current chakra for a long time support, the burden is too heavy. Sharingan? Uchiha Makoto woke up like a dream. Isn't her feeling now exactly what the people say? Also think of illusion. She turned off Sharingan and stood up, only to find that her clothes were soaked in sweat. Although the illusion is fake, the feeling in it is not fake. And this content is too damn it. Which bastard came up with a vicious plot? Uchiha Makoto looked at Haruki subconsciously. It's not me, it's the illusion crafted by Kawago Yuta. Haruki knew that there was resentment in her heart, and anyone who was thrown into this plot would be dissatisfied. He hesitated slightly. In the original work, it seems that the Uchiha clan doesn't know much about Sharingan's promotion, but second Hokage Senju Tobirama has studied more deeply. Who is he? Uchiha Makoto asked, rubbing his eyes. A Grandmaster Jonin. Well, if you want to vent your anger, you can challenge him. Haruki didn't hesitate to sell his teammates, but you just opened your eyes and it's not very stable. I suggest you talk about it later. Uchiha Makoto smiled suddenly. Teacher, don't you explain anything? Haruki knocked his forehead helplessly. I thought you wouldn't ask. But since you want to know, I'll tell you. Sharingan's eyes need to be stimulated by emotions, or to be more precise, losing love after knowing it. Uchiha Makoto was slightly startled. This explains why the content of illusion is so extreme. But how did you know, teacher? The classics in my clan never mention these things. The stele of Nanga Shrine. Uchiha Makoto was even more puzzled. Although she doesn't know the stone monument, how could Haruki have seen Nanga Shrine, the ancestral place of the Uchiha tribe? Now that you have opened Sharingan, you are qualified to watch the inscription on the stele. Although there is only a part of it, it may solve a lot of your doubts, but I advise you to wait until you are strong enough to watch it. Haruki paused, and smiled. As for why I know so much, it's hard to explain in a few words. Similarly, your strength is not allowed to know. I see. Uchiha Makoto took a deep breath and asked, Teacher, the content of illusion is fake, right? Thinking of everything that illusion has experienced, she always feels heart palpitations unconsciously. Nature is fake. Haruki replied. Uchiha Makoto turned on the three-gold jade, which was not as expected by Haruki. Originally he thought it was pretty good to be able to open his eyes. But I didn't expect to go directly to Sanguyu. If you think about it, it seems reasonable. Uchiha Makoto's experience in illusion is tragic. There is still one thought left in the original book. But Uchiha Sasuke did not survive the story of the magic change. In other words, Uchiha Makoto cherishes everyone he likes and does not leave them alone. And the one who did it was Uchiha Itachi. Even if a great saint encounters such a thing, he will be crazy. Not to mention her. But this kind of illusion is obviously impossible to come a second time. Today's Uchiha Makoto has Sharingan and is inherently resistant to illusion. Haruki wrote the results on the Sharingan experiment file. At the beginning of the second group, type 3 names. Haruki, Namikaze Minato, Uzumaki Kushina. If you want to evolve Sharingan again, you may have to start with your companions. As far as Haruki currently knows, the few people who started Mangekyo Sharingan were all because they witnessed the death of a close friend or loved one. Itachi committed suicide because of Uchiha Shisui jumping off a cliff. Obito saw the death of Nohara Lin. Sasuke witnessed his brother's death after the Pacific Battle. Of course, Haruki will not take the extreme way of death. Besides, everyone's feelings are not so deep now. The Sharingan experiment has been put on hold for now. Haruki turned off the computer. He walked towards the basement remodeled yesterday. With the opening of the metal gate, a silver hall came into view. In the middle is the master control, composed of dozens of computers. There are passages all around, extending to the secret laboratory. The deepest part is Orochimaru in use. His experiment violated Konoha's rules and should not be discovered by anyone. The surface is very safe. It is roughly divided into two categories, scientific and technological research with electricity as the core, and ninjutsu with chakra as the core. The current number of ninjas is not very large. There are only 34 people, but the number of ordinary people engaged in scientific research is considerable. The Hokage world doesn't pay much attention to science and technology at all. But it also has things like computers, refrigerators, radios, and movies. It proves that there are a large number of scientific researchers among ordinary people. Haruki collected from everywhere in the country of fire, and with the offensive of money, formed a scientific research team with nearly 500 people. But unfortunately, there are few results at present. Haruki called Nagata Teru by radio. He has been monitoring Hyuga Hiyashi. Due to the Byakugan in Hyuga's house, it is difficult to conduct close surveillance. But the scientific research team came up with an enhanced version of the telescope, which can observe the Hyuga's yard from a long distance. Is Hiyashi doing anything in the past 2 days? Haruki asked straightforwardly. No, Nagata Teru shook his head. Is that so? Haruki waved his hand, and Nagata Teru immediately retreated. He was not very surprised. Hyuga Hiyashi doesn't seem to be a very bold person. What's more, he currently has insufficient status in Hyuga's house. Then, execute the backup plan. Haruki shook his head blankly. Although Tsunade's aggressive attack this time was a blunder, it was objectively beneficial to his plan. He left the institute. Looking at the time, the sun has reached the top of the head. I don't know how the three little guys are practicing. Haruki thought about coming to the third exercise site, but the scene before him made him a little confused. I saw Namikaze Minato eating grilled fish while crying. But Uchiha Makoto did not eat, teacher. Haruki did not hide his figure. Uchiha Makoto discovered him first. The opening of Sharingan made her strength soar. This is Kushina's grilled fish. Sunny trees smelled a burnt smell. Yes, does the teacher want to try it? Uchiha Makoto offered a skewer of grilled fish, but it was snatched by Uzumaki Kushina in the next second. Teacher, my craftsmanship is not good, try it later. She hid the grilled fish in a panic. Namikaze Minato. That's not what you said just now. He threatened that I would not be a teammate unless I finished eating. Haruki couldn't help smiling when he saw Namikaze Minato's expression. Minato, the teacher didn't have lunch, you go catch a few more fish, I'll grill it. Okay. Namikaze Minato wiped away the tears immediately, and fled directly with the body flicker technique. Uzumaki Kushina curled his lips, humph, man. After a while, Haruki started to do it. Uchiha Makoto didn't know Haruki's cooking skills. After I tasted it, my eyes were sharp. She actually thought it was the best food she had ever eaten. Haruki nodded in satisfaction. To grab a person's heart, to grab her stomach. Kushina and Minato have fallen, and Makoto is no exception. The main reason is that the food in the Hokage world is really not that good. How can there be a broad and profound family of flowers? Sichuan cuisine alone can be divided into several factions. After eating, Haruki urged the three of them to train. Fortunately, these three people are hardworking people. How many times harder than he did not know? Among them, the most improved is Uchiha Makoto. Perhaps Haruki's previous illusions had stimulated her too deeply, and she was desperate to beat her son in the future. Time passed quickly. A week later, on the empty flat ground, Uchiha Makoto and Namikaze Minato face each other 3 meters away. Makoto, be careful. Namikaze Minato leaned forward and rushed towards Uchiha Makoto after making the seal of opposite hands. 3 shurikens flew out. Uchiha Makoto stood on the spot with the 3-hook jade wheel in his eyes, but he turned slightly to his side, avoiding the shuriken. She knotted her hands. A huge fireball was spit out from his mouth. Namikaze Minato's body came to a sudden stop. Feel the amazing heat wave, he couldn't help sighing. Fast printing speed. But his movements were not slow, and he jumped directly from the ground up to nearly 4 meters high, waving his hands in midair, throwing out all the shurikens in his satchel in one breath. Uchiha Makoto's response is extremely simple. Leave a stake in place. The body appeared on the other side, and the knot was also a sea-level fire-style dragon fire technique. A straight line of fire dragon appeared, however, she jumped back the next moment. The fire dragon loses the follow-up chakra and its power is greatly reduced. Uchiha Makoto twisted forcibly, holding kunai, and colliding with the shuriken that was overtaking. These shurikens, which had been evaded, continued to attack around her under the lead of Namikaze Minato's wire. She didn't dodge or dodge, and there was sparks from the friction. At this moment, the empty left hand floated and chakra grabbed one of the steel wires. Fire-style dragonfire technique. The scorching flame spread with the steel wire. Namikaze Minato immediately let go. The moment he retreated, countless fireballs fell. The extremely fast speed made him dodge non-stop. But a few seconds later, he realized something was wrong. Phoenix fire technique is certainly a C-rank ninjutsu, but this amount is too much. Illusion? Namikaze Minato bit the tip of his tongue violently, blood sprayed, and the pain made him sober. Heat waves are flooding. 3 fire dragons that looked like magma rose into the sky. The brilliance of the fireworks completely drowned him. B-level ninjutsu. Fire-style Howlong fire technique. Ahem. The imaginary pain did not strike. Seeing Haruki in front of him, Namikaze Minato couldn't help but feel ashamed and said, I'm sorry, teacher, I lost. It is not important to win or lose between partners, let alone say sorry to me. Haruki easily treated the wound on his tongue. On the contrary, you should be happy for your teammate's progress and try to catch up with her. What is a teammate? Mutual promotion, mutual support, and you can rest assured to give your back to them. I see. Namikaze Minato nodded vigorously. Haruki raised his eyes. It seems to work well. He looked at Kushina and Makoto again, and solemnly said, I hope you remember that no matter what happens in the future, you must trust each other.